Good evening, everybody. Today is Tuesday, August 13th, 2024. This is our regular Board of Directors meeting of the Rossmoor Community Service District. I call this meeting to order. May we please have a roll call?
Roll call. Director Barkey.
Here.
Director Shade.
Here.
Director DeMarco.
Here.
Director Searles.
Here.
President Maynard.
Here. Tonight, we have with us the Los Alamitos Girls Softball League, and they are here to assist us with the Pledge of Allegiance. So let's all stand and have the ladies lead us.
Testing.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic of which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, of liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Why don't you each introduce yourself and say what school you go to and what grade you're in, okay? And face this way. Face these people. Here we go. I'm going to start with the tallest first.
Hi, my name is Gracelyn, and I am 11 years old. I am in 6th grade going into Oak Middle School.
Hi, my name is Ava Skaggs. I am 8 years old going into 2nd grade. I go to Lee Elementary.
Hi, my name is Becca McCoy. I am 9 years old. I go to Weaver Elementary, and I am going into 4th grade. Well, I'm in 4th grade.
When does school start?
2
weeks ago for you. How about you?
There's tomorrow.
Tomorrow. So it's kind of like your last night. And you chose to be here. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, tonight we have presentations, and the first presentation, the first one is the California Joint Power Insurance Authority. Presents the RCSD, that's us, with the 2024 Risk Management Award, Lucy Brockmeyer, Senior Risk Manager. Is she with us?
Hi,
today?
thank you. In Zoom.
There, I can see you.
Hi, thank you so much for allowing me to come and recognize Rossmoor Community Services District. I've been working with your agency now for 4 years since you guys became a member of the California JPIA. And this year we were very proud to be able to recognize you as the risk management recipient for our award in the workers' comp arena. Basically, the award is given to members who reflect strong risk management practices. We also look at the overall claim performance, improvement in claim performance. We look at responsiveness to loss control action items, participation in our loss control programs in general, your training and academy participation, basically all the participation that you guys do, your staff does with the California JPIA. And basically this has resulted, I'm sure, with a lot of the work and effort from your staff and you guys maintaining a very low experience modifier in your workers' comp program, which is around a 0.6, which is significantly lower. We consider a 1 to be average, and you guys have a 0.6. So you are 40% better than the average. And so we provided you guys with the award this year. And that's my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lucy. Here is what it looks like. I want to congratulate all of staff, leadership of Mr. Mendoza. We would like to take a lot of credit on this board, but we have nothing to do with this. We set policy, but nice award. This goes out to all of you. Thank you very much. The CJPIA offers a wide range of training topics along with presenting awards. Our RCSD staff members are being trained on a regular basis to exercise best practices and exceed industry standards. At this time, I'd like to introduce the district staff who is here, who have made a concentrated effort throughout the year to work smart and keep the workplace safe so we can gain such awards. As I say your name, please stand up and stay standing, okay? First, we have Omera Perez. Chris Argueta. There we go, Chris. Sergio Pardita. Thank you, Sergio. Juan Salazar. Henry Garolo. I hope I got that one right. Did I? Okay. Kenny Romig is not here tonight. Mary Kingman. Carolyn Wang. And our most senior, Jessica Verduzco, in the office. Thank you very much. At this time, you may be seated. Except for you, Jessica, stay standing so we can embarrass you, okay? Can you please stay standing? We would like to take a moment to thank Jessica Vercuso for her 15 years of service to the district. She started with the district in August of 2009. She plays a vital role on the RCS team. As the general clerk, Jessica is often the first point of contact for Rossmoor residents and racquetball patrons, or I should say racket sports patrons. She is very knowledgeable and always helpful whenever patrons are requesting reservations for any type of event. We want to thank Jessica for all she does, and we look forward to working with her for years to come. And we got you just something little here. But everyone, come on down.
Mr. President, can I say a couple words?
If you must,
Please.
go ahead.
So these guys and girls can get going and off to their lives and homes. I just want to tell them thank you because it's a concentrated effort to be safe. And we're always on each other and we're always watching for each other, telling on each other and making sure that, you know, our hard hats are on, our gloves are on, eyeglasses are on when you're working on something. And I just want to thank them. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Is it okay if I say one more thing? This is Lucy.
Hi, Luce.
Oh, I also wanted to let you guys know that I hope to be back at the end of October because Mary has been nominated for another award that we provide. It's called the Capstone Award. And we actually were on your property a month ago, and we conducted a filming of the interviews that we conducted regarding the work that she does. So hopefully I will be back to see you guys in October with another award.
We welcome it. Thank you. We welcome it. Thank you, Lucy.
Thank you. Have a good
Thanks,
night.
Lucy.
Thanks. So I don't believe we have any additions to the agenda. No emergencies taking place. Brings us to a public forum, and we have one card, and this is Maureen Waters, and it's a miscellaneous. Oh, there you are. Come on up, Maureen. It says miscellaneous right there. It does. Yeah.
It's a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I never really have.
State your name, state your stuff.
My name is Maureen Waters. I live on Walker Lee, and I am a 27-year resident of Rossmoor. First of all, I just want to say thank you for the permanent striping of the pickleball courts at Rossmoor Park. I've now been playing on Monday mornings for about the past 6 weeks. And if not all 4 courts taken from 8 to 10 a.m., at least 3 of the courts are taken. So they're taken on Monday mornings at least. And thank you for the festivals. They've been fun. This past one, the music, it was amazing. People weren't leaving. It was a band that, it wasn't a lot of really good dance music per se, but it was just good old rock and roll, and people loved it. Like, people were not leaving early. So good job to that. And also I wanted to, oh, the staff left, but they're always around. I see them all the time. They're friendly, and they're working hard. So good job everybody, for the staff. And street sweeping. 2 weeks ago, and I've seen them prior, they start sweeping before 8:30 a.m. The signs clearly say 8:30 a.m. I was walking my dog, and they were starting at 7:30 a.m., and I have a video of it. I sent a complaint to the county, but I've since learned that we are the ones that do the contract. So I will let Mr. Mendoza know. And I'm also not afraid to call the company either, because they need to start when they're supposed to start so that people can at least try and get their cars off the road. And I don't know if anybody else has noticed, but those machines speed. They fly through the neighborhood. They go way faster than 25 miles an hour. So I don't know how they can do a good job when they're going so fast. And I know at the last meeting, the sheriff said that they are in the community and that there's a fast response time. That might be at nighttime. I'm really not seeing a presence of the sheriff in the community during the day. I'm around a lot. I walk my dog, I ride my bike, I'm driving around, and I just don't see him around. So, and I spoke to him about it coming in, and he said, oh, no, we're like a mountain lion ready to pounce. So I guess there's maybe a difference in expectations of how much us, the residents, expect to see law enforcement versus what they think is doing a good job. So there's still, I think, work for improvement. And hopefully we can get the word to the CHP that school is starting so that they can get out here and keep traffic down, speed down, hopefully from day one of the school year. So anyhow, that's it. Thanks, guys. Doing a great job.
Thanks, Maureen.
Thank you.
During this public forum, if anyone did not sign a card and would like to approach, anyone? Okay. Moving along, reports to the board, up D1. Report on the urban forest, District Arborist Mary Kingman.
Hi, good evening. So I'm here to give the tree report for the months of April through July 2024. There was not a lot of tree activity during these months. Only 15 trees were pruned by district contractors. We really try not to prune during bird nesting season unless there's an emergency or a clearance issues. Most of those clearance issues are done by staff. 23 trees were removed. They had to be removed due to issues such as disease, tree hazards, age-related health issues, etc. I do have a complete report of all the tree removal reasons on my report, if you're interested. There was one unauthorized trimming, and a removal citation was issued for that. There were a total of 12 limb failures that occurred, and among those, there was one property damage claim that was filed, and 113 resident service requests were responded to. And that's pretty much my report. Like I said, not a lot of tree activity, but if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Quick question, you said there was a citation. Do you know how much the citation was?
The citation, first citation for first violation is $300.
Okay. So someone paid $300 for trimming their own tree.
Correct.
Okay. People need to know.
Yeah.
People, wherever camera I'm looking at, know that we have people, we have contracts with people to take care of the trees. Do not take it on your own.
Correct.
Any questions of Mary? Start with you, Director Searles.
I guess, Mary, just kind of, if you could, we talked on Saturday about just what's going on with the trees in general. I guess how the climate has changed on you and your choices of trees.
Yeah, so the tree list for replanting trees is constantly changing because a lot of the trees we originally planted in the district, especially going back to when the neighborhood was first built, but even going back 20 years, sometimes even 10 years, we realized those species are no longer suitable for the climate that is changing, with more extreme periods of drought and then followed by extreme periods of rainfall. So looking forward, we need to find trees that are going to be able to withstand all these different conditions that are happening. Besides that, a lot of trees are just under stress because of these conditions, and also a lot of foreign pests coming in that they're not used to combating. And the more stressed trees are because of drought or excessive pruning, other conditions, then they're going to be more susceptible to those attacks by pests that carry diseases. They're vectors for fungal diseases and bacterial, and then there's also bacterial diseases that affect the trees. So all these conditions are just challenging to our urban forest, and we need to do what we can to keep them healthy by supplemental watering, making sure they're not overly pruned, making sure they are pruned enough so that there aren't excessive branch failures, and planting the right species for the changing climate.
Thank you, Mary.
Sure.
Director DeMarco.
The 175 service requests, is that about average?
That's about average for the time of year, yeah, because during the summer I do tend to get more requests for clearance trims, a lot of pest concerns, because especially this year because we had all the rain early in the season. That also means more aphids that are attacking the trees and other pests, so we tended to have more of those this year or in years when there's a lot of rain.
And you treat the trees?
We don't treat the trees for aphids. That's something I advise the residents to treat themselves because it's they're a seasonal pest, and even if we go and treat it, once the leaves fall off they're usually deciduous trees that it's occurring with. So once the leaves fall in the winter, they're just going to come back again even if we do treat the trees. So I recommend, excuse me, if they can, to spray the trees themselves with a strong stream of water, or to make up a solution of like a little dish soap, or they can buy at a garden center a safer alternative that isn't really a pesticide but is more a soap that will stop the aphids, and they can put one of those little tanks on their water hose and spray the tree that way. If it's not too big. If it's a large tree, it's really hard to do that because it's hard to get up in the...
How about ladybugs?
Ladybugs are really good. It's just when we have so many aphids, there's just doesn't seem to be enough ladybugs to combat the aphids. So there's also a predatory wasp that eats aphids. But then also as people use more and more pesticides, that kills off the beneficial insects, and it's just, it's just a vicious cycle that we can't seem to get out of.
Mary, what was the deal with the weed trimmer damage that you had to remove a tree?
So when the lawnmower equipment, or weed whackers as we call them, hit the bark of the tree, so everything that has to do with the tree is conducted in a very thin layer, a microscopic layer of cells that is just under the bark. So all the water and nutrients coming up from the roots are conducted in those cells, along with all the sugars and glucose that leaves make coming down the tree. So if that's disrupted, then the tree is going to be unhealthy, and if it happens all the way around the trunk, it can actually kill the tree.
So how old was that tree?
That tree was not that old. It was probably, I'm going to say 12, maybe 12 to 15 years old, and it just wasn't that big because I think it happened early on and it continued to happen. So,
And of course, you told the resident that.
well, by the time I saw the tree failing, it was too late. It had already been happening. So
You replaced, or it hasn't been replaced?
it hasn't been replaced yet, but it will be this fall, winter, yeah.
Hopefully when they don't do that.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and then of course, I put that in the planting direction, we send the letter to make sure that doesn't occur, and it's just something most landscaper, personnel just don't have that knowledge of that going on, like that it's doing that kind of damage.
When you put a new tree in, do you put like a guard?
Yes, we
Yeah,
put a
but
trunk guard around the
sometimes that
tree.
just gets-
Yeah, so then that helps it, but we have to take that off at a certain point, because
Yeah.
once the trunk gets so big, then
Yeah.
you can't have that on there. Yeah.
And you're gonna, we have a lot more with the tree on the agenda, right? You're gonna be here?
I will stick
Okay.
around, yeah.
All right, thank you.
Director Shade.
I don't have any questions. We had a great committee meeting, so we kind of went over everything during that time.
Right.
Thank you, Mary.
You're welcome.
Director Barkey.
Nothing more.
Okay, great.
All right.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
Okay, we're now at consent calendar. Consent items are expected to be routine, non-controversial, to be acted upon by the Board of Directors at one time. If any board member requests that an item be removed from the consent calendar, it shall be removed by the president so that it may be acted upon separately. Is there any such desire?
Just for clarification, I don't wish to challenge the consent calendar, but there is something I would like the general manager maybe to discuss later. Is that okay? I'm not opposing the consent, if that makes sense.
But it's within,
Yes, it's an item within.
ask your question now?
Okay. So I would just say I'm move to pull consent calendar item 2, the revenue and expenditure report.
Oh, so we are, okay. So you are taking out number 2. Okay, is there a motion to approve consent E1?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Sounded like 5-0. Okay,
So,
Director Searles,
yeah.
what did you want to discuss or ask?
Mr. Mendoza, page 56 of the PDF, which would be page 55 in the bottom right.
Yeah, I'm here.
There's an item, like the third one down for the Event News Enterprise about our budget hearing notice. And my question is, have we had discussions with the Event News Enterprise about distributorship within Rossmoor to make sure that that public notice is actually getting to residents?
Not specifically that. We've had meetings with them regarding their distribution. They have cut back on their distribution to our residents. We do get a stack of newspapers here, and there's a number of, I believe, stores that they drop off to. And I believe there's some homes that are getting, sporadically, they're getting the newspaper. Apparently, they are I guess their news enterprise is dwindling in, I guess, budget, and they're cutting back. We did, however, meet with them. Karen and I had a long meeting with them. And we found, this is about a year ago, that we're paying for an advertisement, and we get half of Rossmoor distributed to, because the other half is the Sun. Okay, so my point to them, and our point to them was, that's not fair. We're either going to pull back altogether. We want total distribution like Los Alamitos would get. If they took an ad out in the Enterprise, it'd go to all Los Alamitos. If Seal Beach took an ad out in the Sun, it'd go to all of Seal Beach. So our point was, when we take an ad out, I want to pay one price, and I wanted the Sun and the Enterprise to advertise our efforts.
But that still wouldn't cover all of Rossmoor.
But it pretty much, yeah.
Well, no, the Sun doesn't come to, where I am in the first 8 streets up until Copa de Oro receives 0. We don't get the Sun, we don't get the News Enterprise.
I don't think anybody's getting either one. They've kind of cut back.
Well, I was going to ask Tarquin, by law, we have to announce in good faith to the public that we are having an event. With the nature of a dying press and print, and you can't get 100% Rossmoor within one vehicle, what are the options for other cities and communities to do?
President Minton.
No, we could hear you.
Okay. President Maynard. So the level of noticing depends on what type of activity. For example, if it's a legally required notice of public hearing, it has to be published in a newspaper of general circulation in the district. And there are some other requirements, but that's basically it. Those are really the only legal requirements for noticing. There are other means to get the word out there for different events and so forth. But the legal requirements all have to do with noticing certain projects or certain actions, public hearings, things like that.
Okay, sure. I understand, we want to advertise and promote an event, but if we do have a legal requirement to announce a first reading, a budget, a workshop, or some part of our agenda, there isn't a newspaper that has sufficient coverage, one newspaper that has sufficient coverage. At one point, we used to do both the Sun and the News Enterprise, and felt like we covered pretty much all of Rossmoor, but that's no longer the case. Just geographically, if you look at those, if you talk to those 2 publishers and have them produce a distribution map of where they actually throw and drop these papers, you're going to see tons of holes. And I'm just trying to figure out, do we just pick one? Do we pick 2? I mean, I was just curious again what our legal requirements are for public notice. Yeah,
the legal there are various legal requirements, as I said, depending on the type of notice. However, the standard is normally a newspaper of general circulation. The general manager and I can look into this and come back to the board with some suggestions.
Okay. Yeah, I would want just you've been here, you've been hearing this, we've been talking about this, where we have the coverage issue, and is it defendable? I mean, are we doing it right, or is there something else that we should be doing based on the law and following the law?
And I, once again, Tarquin said we'll look into it, but in my opinion, we're meeting the standard because, one, we're putting it out on social media. 2 is, that's the only alternative we have. If we went to the Orange County Register, everybody doesn't take it, everybody doesn't read it. I mean,
no, I was going to bring that up. So if we put it in the Orange County Register, are we compliant? And again, you don't have to worry about the lesser of, whatever you feel the top, a notice for first reading. I don't know what the top notice would be that this district would put out, but are we compliant with the papers or one of the papers that we choose to distribute?
We're compliant with the paper that we currently use. Other entities that have land use powers for some actions, you have to actually have you actually have to have direct mail service for a certain radius. For example, if you're doing a conditional use permit and so forth. So that's more direct notice. But Rossmoor does not have that, absent some very unique circumstances. So we're meeting the legal standards by publishing in a newspaper of general circulation. However, it's also available on our website, which most cities, districts do. And they post it elsewhere. Actually, post on various parts, places at district property. For example, the agenda was required to have physical copies and so forth. Those are what meet our legal requirements for notice.
And Director Searles, what's the solution, do you think?
I mean, first I'd say Tarquin and Mr. Mendoza could go back and figure out what would be a acceptable newspaper. I know the county has a list of newspapers you can use for publication. Say if you want to change a name or something, you go on to the court's website. It tells you these are the publications in your community that are acceptable. I think if the register is at least delivering in our community, so for that purpose, I know it qualifies, but it also is going to actual households. The Sun, Event News, Enterprise, people having to go here to get it wouldn't be acceptable in my mind because they're already, the public notice is sitting on the outside of the building. So
They don't. So what's actually, besides the register, for those who subscribe, are you saying that the News Enterprise no longer ends up on people's driveways?
Right. It qualifies by the county court's notices at this time, but effectively it's not because it's not actually being distributed, and we know that, so we would be kind of
I get the News
complicit, as you were
Enterprise every
saying.
Wednesday.
So it is distributed?
Yeah, I get the News
You
Enterprise.
see, I don't get anything.
Yeah. So,
So,
I would just say that I asked that they look into it, and that's why I didn't want to pull the item because I
Right.
don't think it's a challenge to this particular thing. It's just something the general manager needs to go back and we need a solution or at least knowledge of whether it's being distributed sufficiently enough to qualify for
Right.
public notice.
Sure, to qualify for public notice, the ones that you just talked about, when you
Princeton.
pull, I don't know, an LLC or something like that, and you put it in, you go down to the courthouse and you just put it in a newspaper that, I don't know where that gets distributed. Certainly doesn't get distributed in Rossmoor. I've never seen a paper, and I've done that before. I would say that, what's the distribution of, I don't know if you can get this, Orange County Register in Rossmoor. I don't know if you can gather that information, but... And
it's
then,
very difficult
Yeah,
with the 90720.
well, it's just, the
Go.
newspapers just...
By the way, this is not an agendized item.
No, it's
I
not.
know. Well,
Yeah. Well, okay, so let's just move forward. Is there a motion for consent for the remaining portion, E2?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Brings us to our regular calendar. First up is G1. This is a first reading for proposed policy number 6017 regarding park tree and memorial bench donations. Mr. Mendoza.
Yes, thank you. President Maynard, members of the board. I'd like to ask Mary to come up to the mic and back me up on this report. Basically, we have had an informal park tree and memorial bench program over the years. And Mary, you want to, I guess, give them a little report on what the history of this program is?
Yeah, so in the past, or presently even, when a resident would like to donate a tree to the park in honor of a loved one, that was just kind of informal. We get the funding from them, they pay for the tree. When the time to come for tree planting comes around, I add that tree to the list for the park plantings. And for now, we've been allowing a sign to be affixed to the tree that we affix, a little plaque that commemorates the loved one. But we felt that there needed to be a more formal policy for this. And And so that's why we've come to this first reading of the policy. And I, just as a background, I did look at several other cities to get their policy on this, and we found that most do not allow the memorial plaques. And from my experience, there's been a lot of issues with there has been a lot of issues with those plaques. They get vandalized. The tree grows, and we have to loosen them, so it's hard to keep up on that. Trying to keep them at a good distance from the trunk. It's mainly the vandalism, and it's very upsetting to someone that has memorialized a loved one with a tree to see it vandalized and to see the plaque vandalized. So most cities, they offer a certificate in lieu of the plaque, but the park benches, which will also be included in this program, a memorial park bench, will be allowed to have a plaque. And that's what we propose for this.
So, President Maynard, there are some fees involved here, and for a memorial tree, it's $300 for a 24-inch box, and for a memorial bench, the costs range between $1,500 and $1,800, and that's installed. And the policy 6017 covers majority of this. The tree committee did meet on July 30th and discussed it, and I believe they are in favor of this policy. We just wanted to formalize it so we can advertise it. We've never really made it available and really put good notice out to our residents that this is available to them. So as you can see, the bench that we specified is in the back on page 56 of 127. And we have a few of these already at Rossmoor Park, and the goal is to fill that whole lane up under the grove of trees that lead up to the building. We have 2 or 3 of them in there, and those have been dedicated to a loved one, and we'd like to fill that up first, and then we'll look at other sites on the parks, and we'll make sure that we either change a bench out, it's an old bench, or we'll add a new slab and put a bench in. So that concludes our report, and if Director Shade and Director Barkey have any input, we'd be happy to hear them.
As well. So we'll start on this side. Committee, have you seen this policy before? Were you involved in its creation?
Sure. We walked through it with Joe and with Mary at our tree committee meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Does it meet your expectations?
It does. I think it's, like everything, we have to individualize it and look at individual situations. Mm-hmm. But I think overall it's a good policy, and it's one that can always be updated if it's not quite working as anticipated.
Okay. Anything to add, Director Shades?
No, we talked about a couple of small changes that we might want to incorporate, but outside of that, it was fine.
Okay, so the corrections you did want are now incorporated into the document we're all reviewing?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Director DeMarco. Any questions of the committee?
No, so the tree won't have a plaque, so it won't need to be maintained, and then the bench has a plaque and it's permanently affixed to the bench.
Correct.
It's
Or the
usually on the
concrete?
ground, but
on the
right in
con-
front
yeah.
of the bench. And I should also say that we did propose or decide that the existing plaques would be grandfathered in, because there are several that are existing.
Okay. How many do we have for trees?
Presently,
Yeah,
I'm
that
going
have the plaques.
I'm going to say 15,
15,
rough
okay.
estimate, yeah.
Okay.
Room to grow.
Director Searles.
I guess for the committee and the board is just the function of the donations and whether we would want those to be earmarked toward trees or parks in any specific way or not. And just, I mean, I assume to Tarquin that these donations are not tax deductible or any other way, because we're not a nonprofit in that sense. And we're not involving ourselves in any issues with someone giving to a public entity?
Yeah, so we cannot provide tax advice. It may be that they're tax deductible, but we cannot provide tax advice to the citizens.
Is there any issue with a resident giving something to the district?
Well, no, it's a donation in memorial, so they're just paying for the cost of the donation. There's no legal downside to the district. It's not improper acceptance of funds.
And I mean, I have to say this, having that we all filed different financial disclosures as board members, are there any disclosures that are needed to be done for those who give to the district?
No, not specifically. They're giving these are donations of a tree to the district. The donation money pays for the cost of the tree, with a plaque as applicable. They're not donations to the individual board members.
Okay.
Those would be reportable, but these are not those type of donations.
So I guess then the last question would be, the donation amount, does that match the cost of the tree or the cost of the bench and the labor that's involved? Or are we, do you know, I mean, does anyone know if we're looking at this as being a revenue positive, negative, neutral proposition?
I think we were discussing the whole like promotion of this program and how it has room to grow to make more, possible revenue from it, basically. Right now, I think it's just status quo, and there's not really, it's not created to be a money-making machine right now. It's just not in that realm, but it has possibility to grow.
I guess I would ask Mary or Joe, operationally speaking, does the cost of the tree, is it more than what the donation is, or?
No, the trees hover around, our contract changes every few years and the prices do change. It always hovers around $300, so that's why we made it that cost. Plus whatever we're going to be spending on the certificates, time to print those up, administrative time for that. So it will come out even. It won't, at least for the trees, there will be no revenue overage, but I can't speak to the benches, but I'm sure it's probably the same case.
Yeah, directors, go ahead.
And that's why there's a range from 15 to 18, depending on if we have to pour cement, depending on the installation process. If they're picking out an existing area like Rossmoor Park, where there's already cement and there's a place for it, there would be no additional cost. So there's a range there, yes.
So, board members, if I may speak, my understanding is that this is intended to be cost neutral.
Yeah.
This is not a
That's my
revenue
intention.
enterprise. This is just a cost neutral for, roughly proportional to the cost of labor and materials.
Would such intentions actually be part of the policy? Meaning, in this draft, there's a little preamble about how this program is for grieving families within Rossmoor. This program is cost neutral to the families who participate. It's not for profit. Is it appropriate to have language like that in such a policy?
It's not legally required, and typically, this is not a fee per se, but typically, analogizing the rules applicable to city or district fees, they have to be roughly proportional. They cannot exceed, the cost of the district cannot be exceeded by the revenue that comes in.
No, I get that, but do we actually
No,
memorialize that in the policy?
No, it's not necessary to memorialize that in the policy. It's not legally
So how do
required.
we memorialize it for future, because this is kind of a future
It
plan?
says-
It's not necessary, but it
I
could
think we're
be.
overthinking this. There's a range. The intent is to donate a park bench. So Mary just said what is it, a 30-gallon?
24-inch box.
It's $300.
Yeah.
Are you going to be involved in planting that tree?
Our contractors actually plant the trees.
But you're going to manage where it's
Right.
going to go and all
Yeah,
that?
yeah, it's
Joe,
gonna
are
go-
you going to, you or somebody staff member is going to help assist in, based on the request, the management of the request, getting Mary, ordering that. There's going to be some labor, right, time spent on that, right?
Yeah, but at the same time.
But there's going to be some
Yeah,
time spent.
sure.
Okay, so we're only asking for 300 for the,
Yeah.
so we're probably going to lose money, but it doesn't matter, it's like a donation. So I don't know, to me, we're looking in the wrong way. This is actually going to cost the district probably
I'm not
something.
even talking about the cost, I'm just talking, we have a new policy. We've never had policy 6017 before. It is a new program. If there are intentions that this is a program for grieving families within Rossmoor, it's not a profit grab. How do we detail that for future boards to come and for people who come? How do we just memorialize this? That's all I'm at. That this is a service and it's cost neutral. And whatever the costs, hard costs are, that's what will be presented to the families who ask for it. The only question I had was on attachment 2, it says Rossmoor address. Is that the Rossmoor address of the person who passed away? Or only people in Rossmoor can do this? Because let's say down the line I pass away and my daughters live in Pacoima and they still know how Rossmoor.
Yeah, we talked about that during the meeting because I do have people come in that live in San Diego or other areas that grew up in Rossmoor and their parents lived here and just passed away and they want to donate a tree. So they no longer have technically a Rossmoor address. So we talked about this at the meeting, that would be when they presented that to me, that situation, that we would, of course, accommodate that. Even though
I just know it was highlighted.
we didn't want to change the application because it would have opened it up to anybody being able to come,
The challenge is we didn't want, a celebrity dies and a Rossmoor resident is fond of that celebrity, and now we've got the
Exactly, yeah.
Oh, no, yeah.
XYZ memorial bench for whoever recently died and so forth. So that's why that's why the Rossmoor language is in there. But of course, like everything, it needs to be individually considered, and there may
Right,
be
okay.
exceptions.
I just, again, when I saw it highlighted, I was wondering, why was it highlighted? Is this a distinction that?
Yeah, it was something that
Because
was
obviously this
discussed.
needs to be, the memorial is for someone who passed for their families and who had meaning in Rossmoor where they
Right.
felt that
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
It's that big of a deal to memorialize their loved one in our parks.
So just on first read, looking at this, on the actual application, perhaps if, the current fees, if you want to put a line in that the intent is for a cost neutral or the actual costs, or, it says $300, 24-inch box standard, whatever, and if you want to, this fee goes to the cost of a tree, of the current cost of the tree. And then the bench, this fee goes to the current cost of the bench and any costs involved in preparing the ground.
Sorry.
So,
And there will also probably be some upkeep, at least with the benches and the tree. The trees are just become part of the park
yeah.
upkeep, but, they get trimmed with the rest of the trees. But the benches may need some extra, as years go by, extra maintenance.
But that, but is that being considered in this range of 1,500, 1,800?
Probably not, 'cause it's just upkeep of the
Yeah.
park, but it would,
It just becomes part of the park.
Yeah, it becomes part of it, yeah.
This is a first reading, so it doesn't
Right.
require any action.
Well, no, but the
Well, we
whole
have
point
to-
of a first reading is to get it to a second reading of something that everyone's comfortable with.
Of course.
I just have a policy book, thanks for whoever put here, and I'm just looking, this is going to go in the same series as facilities, being the 6,000 series. And I just see on policy 6010, it goes into, public parks and facilities, and then there's like a little preamble. It says Rossmoor Conservancy, go to the next one. There's a purpose, a definition. I think that's what's lacking on this on this policy. As an example, 6011, rules and regulations for use of district property. It
So
has,
purpose.
it has a purpose.
All right,
It
so-
has its definitions. I think that's what's missing here. The purpose is for grieving families. The purpose is, exactly, it's for grieving families. It's a cost, a cost-neutral position. Families will pay whatever. You know, I just think it needs a little bit more than what is presented as attachment 1 here.
That's a good point. Certainly, I see there's a purpose and definition, and this one doesn't have it.
Yeah. And in there, that's where the intent was for future board members, know that this program was not for profit, was not for, you know, raising capital. It's for grieving Rossmoor families. So that's my only request that I have for our next reading, is to make some kind of revision where you got a purpose and you have definitions.
Can we still move forward on the reading, Darkwin? If, again, we're not really changing the policy, we're just adding a purpose and a definition, or,
Wordsmanship.
yeah, just like intent.
Correct, that's the purpose of the first reading.
Exactly.
Get the, get the language perfect, then it comes back for a second reading.
Anything else on G1? Okay. Understand the direction? Mr. Mendoza, Carolyn?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
G2 is the first.
Thank you, Mary.
Don't go anywhere. Moving on, G2, first and final reading, we hope, of an amendment to policy number 2160, deferred compensation. Mr. Mendoza.
Thank you, President Maynard, members of the board. I'll give you a brief background. On August 6th, you remember just a couple of days ago, a special meeting was held by the Board of Directors. I believe all the board was here. I believe Director Barkey was absent. We had a Zoom call with Nationwide Retirement Solutions, a very, very good conversation with their representative, Amber Peters. Amber asked and answered a number of questions from the board members that were present. And one of the major questions we had was how and when are people vested, our employees? We came up with some conclusions, and that's all encumbered in policy number 2160 on page 68. If you would like, I'll read the policy, or
Yeah, please do.
Okay. Deferred matching program. The employer deferred matching program offers full-time employees up to a 3% deferred employer match on gross salary, overtime not included. Newly hired full-time employees are eligible for program enrollment immediately and are subject to maximum annual contribution limits as defined annually by the Internal Revenue Services. After 12 consecutive months of full-time employment, employees will be fully vested in the employer match. As part of the budget planning process, the board will conduct an annual audit of the program and maintains the ability to suspend the employer matching portion of the program at any time at their discretion. Let me see here. Okay, period. Suspending the employer match shall not interrupt employee contribution to or participate in the program. The general manager, part-time employees, elected officials, and independent contractors are not eligible to participate and or enroll in the program. I believe that covers us on some of the questions we had.
Thank you. We missed you, Director Barkey. It was a great meeting. It was catered. No, it wasn't. Sorry. So anyhow, I'm going to start over here. Director Searles, does this meet your expectations?
Yes, no further discussion.
Okay, is there a motion?
Oh, so moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
This is a roll call, or this is, the ayes have it? Roll call. It's a roll call. Let's have a roll call, please.
Roll call vote on deferred compensation policy 2160. Director Barkey?
Aye.
Director Shade?
Aye.
Director DeMarco?
Aye.
Director Searles?
Aye.
President Maynard?
Aye. Thank you. Moving along. We're going to review and discuss recommendations from the tree committee. Mr. Mendoza, G3.
Yes, President Maynard, members of the board. The tree committee met on July 30th and discussed a number of issues related to residents and possible tree removals and requests, fine violations, and tree planting policies. First up on G3, item 1, is a citizen request to remove a tree at 12622 Martha Ann Drive. I believe the residents are here, and the committee discussed at length with the residents and amongst themselves, and the committee recommends approval to remove the tree. If Dr. Barkey or Director Shade wants to ad-lib a little bit or call the patron up to answer any questions, I think that might clarify the request.
Absolutely. I think that I'm definitely recommending that we allow this to move forward for our residents. As a homeowner in the area, I am sympathetic to their plea here because the tree is enormous and the sidewalk is not made for that size of tree anymore, quite frankly. The back, it's a beautiful tree, and we have several on the back side there of Martha Ann that needs some servicing, I'll call it. And this is one of them. And it's intrusive to the sidewalk, and it's literally like brought up the whole, it's enormous. It's like you can't, and they put, thousands of dollars into their remodel, and this tree is just, if it was mine, I would want it removed as well. I feel like the county has spent thousands of dollars maintaining and redoing this area that the tree stump is coming out of and pulling up off the foundation of the sidewalk, and it's been done multiple times, and it's actually brought down the value of the tree because of the cost. Even though we aren't paying for it directly, it's the county, and inadvertently our taxpayer money is going to maintaining that sidewalk. So I'm sympathetic to the owner, and I feel like this is something that we need to comply with and allow them to have it removed.
Yep. Is this their tree we're talking about, or is this the other one? Yeah. I mean, I'd like the full committee to hear from them. It's more than just the size of the tree, although that's part of it. It's also that the tree roots have encroached into the sewer system, and the remodeling that they've done has created also a liability for the contractor who has to warranty the foundation. Legally is required to do this by law, and the contractor is very concerned that this warranty puts him at risk because this tree has already shown potential root damage of the new foundation that they put down, et cetera. So for all those reasons, and you can hear from them directly and ask them questions, I think it's a perfectly reasonable request to remove this thing. Being mindful of the concern that if we remove their tree, what about everybody else with a big tree that's going to want it removed? So it's not just because it's a big tree, although it is that, it's that this specific tree, in regards to the remodel and construction, is creating a unique problem that we can fix.
Is the family here? Please come.
Hello, board.
I didn't hear that.
I said, hello, board.
Oh, hello, board. I thought maybe you were introducing yourself.
I'm Charles Pham. This is my wife, Nancy.
Charles and Nancy, thank you for coming tonight. So tell us about your request.
Sure. So as Dr. Barkey and Director Shade said, we are in the midst of a remodel or addition to our property. This tree has caused significant damage already in the past. We've shared with the board or the committee, I forgot who I shared it with, receipts of the damage that's already had caused to our property in excess of $15,000. We've had to redo the main sewage line. It encroached upon that. We've made several requests to have the tree trimmed and dealt with. We also have been made aware at the last tree committee meeting that it cost in excess of $5,000 to redo the sidewalk as a result of the tree. We've had concerns when we first moved in 6 years ago. We have at the time, a newborn, and we had a few close calls with branches falling down, but we recognize part of the policy that's not necessarily a concern that is taken into consideration, but we as family that just moved into the neighborhood, it caused a concern. Fast forward to today, we have worked with Eddie Keski Construction. His son Shane here is part of the organization. They can probably speak better to the issues that Dr. Barkey had highlighted, that their foundational concerns as they were putting in the new foundation, the concrete. They raised concerns of the long-term integrity of what they've built because of the way the roots are. I'm not a tree person in that regard. I don't know the dynamics of it, but it was concerning for us that we're putting several hundreds of thousands of dollars in a remodel, recognizing that may be at risk in X number of years. And so we are tree people. We love trees. It's one of the key reasons why we moved to the neighborhood. Mm-hmm. We just have concerns about this tree. We're more than happy to work with the district and the county, or whomever it needs to be, to replace the tree. If there's a reasonable amount of money that we can actually share in the cost or cover, we're more than happy to do that. It's just this tree is causing concerns for us as long-term residents. And we'd like to have this be a place where we retire and grow old and maybe have a bench put in for us.
Your remodel, are you still in remodel process, or are you completed?
No, we're in the midst of it right now. As far as I understand it, we're right in the middle of it.
Middle, so how much more time do you have in this remodel?
I'll look to my contractor to talk about that. I'm projecting another 4 to 6 months.
Another 4 to 6 months?
Yeah.
Okay. Tony, did you have questions? Of the family?
So I was on the tree committee for a number of years. So let me just ask a few questions. And again, this isn't it's like my job, our job, to protect our trees. They're the community trees, especially our 60-year-old sycamore. So I saw your tree, so your tree is, and again, I would, if your contractor's here, I'd like to ask him some questions too, in terms of, so, there's many residents that have, in a 60, 70-year-old community, that have, sewer line damage. And I just, there are, I don't know, Mary, how many sycamore trees do we have on Martha Ann? You can just, 25, 30, 40? Yeah, I'm not sure exactly on Martha Ann. But a couple of hundred, over 200. How many of them about 50 to 60 years old? Most of them, okay. So as Dr. Barkey had mentioned, my concern is your tree looks similar. Mary, is it a healthy tree? Okay. So your tree is similar to many of them on Martha Ann. So if this board doesn't do their due diligence, then everyone's going to request to have the 60-year-old, our like pride of our community, are these giant trees, all removed and replaced with a 24, a little tree. And so, Mary, when was the sidewalk removed?
Oh, I just saw my notes.
Come up, Mary, please. Can you come up? Share the podium, please.
There were 91 trees on Martha Ann at the California Sycamores.
Do you know when the sidewalk was removed?
Yeah, I can look at the...
A couple years ago? Yeah. I don't know. I can ask you, when was...
Within the last year.
Yeah, it was actually on...
Okay, it's not that important. So it's recently. So when they put the new sidewalk in...
2023, yeah.
When they put the new sidewalk in, I'm sure they cut the roots.
Yes, they always do.
We're going in.
Yeah.
When you did the foundation, yeah, I'm talking to the contractor.
Come on up.
Yeah,
Sure.
Come on up.
When you did the foundation work, How many roots were removed?
Numbers-wise, it's kind of hard to say. Essentially,
Many?
Yeah.
You removed many.
If I can explain the process that we're required with now on.
Step closer, please.
If I could explain the process now, the county, when we have these new construction type of builds, this is an ADU, mother-in-law quarters situation, we're now required to excavate 4 feet underneath the proposed pad of the building with a 3-foot radius around that, so we take a big old chunk out of the ground. In doing that, we removed a lot of the roots, 3 feet from the property setback, so essentially from 17 feet from the sidewalk property line, we had roots 6 to 8 inches around on the entire perimeter of their house. It's that's 17 feet in from the sidewalk line. It's bad, to say the least.
You removed them, though?
We had to, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we have to do that as part of our grading process. It has to be clean dirt, clean compacted pad. We can't have any debris, soil, et
So
cetera.
hearing that, Mary, is the tree still viable? Hearing that, so 6-inch, 8-inch roots were removed going towards the home. Okay.
Anytime you remove tree roots, that can affect the health of the tree. At that distance, it's likely not going to affect the stability of the tree, but it can affect the health because you're taking away a big part of the tree's system. You know, the roots are just part of the whole tree. So it can affect the tree. I can't say how much it's going to affect the tree. This occurs all the time with roots being
because they removed roots when they did the sidewalk also.
Yes.
And then the contractor
And we
removed
don't know
even
when
more.
the sidewalk was
A
about
year ago.
A year ago.
Yeah, it was the work orders from September to November of 2023. So it was during, they do a lot of sidewalks at once. So I don't know the exact date they did that
So,
sidewalk.
Mary, you just know trees, and you know these sycamores very well. So how many years does it take for a tree root to get about, a tree root 15 feet away, 10 feet away, to get 8 inches? Guess.
I have no idea because
Depends on watering.
Yeah, it just depends on so many factors. Depends on what the tree root is going to encounter as it's working its way. Most roots don't want to go into unfavorable conditions. They'll deflect and turn and find some soil or something that's favorable to them. But it's really hard to determine what's going on under the ground with trees. That's, it's just part of.
So, Mary, we hire you to advise the board and the general manager, and you're just, again, you're not making, we make the call, but you're just telling us about the tree.
Just telling you the condition of the tree.
So in 2019, they requested to have the tree removed, okay? And what was the situation in 2019 when you went out there?
In 2019, I went and assessed the tree, and there were no health issues with the tree.
Okay, and our policy is?
To not remove healthy trees.
Was there a reason for the 2019 application? I'm now asking the family, why did you want it removed in 2019?
If I recall correctly, I made the request because there were several branches that fell through. I had a newborn, less than 1 year old.
So after some storms,
we don't play out in the front yard because of that tree.
Yeah.
One other question I was going to ask and I forgot. When did you have your $15,000 sewer work?
It's in the
How long
receipts.
ago?
It's within the last, I think.
Fairly recent?
3 years, I think.
3 years ago?
3 or 4 years. It's
worked?
in the
Okay.
receipts that I share.
All right.
Yes.
If I may, I believe we're kind of getting into some gray areas here because we've already went through this at the committee meeting, and I don't know if it's fair to Mary to have her stand here and be judge and jury here. And I know you,
No,
the board.
no, I'm making it clear she's not judge and jury.
I know, but basically, we're putting her on the spot.
Well,
my point here is I remember Mr. Pham calling me, and me going out there. If you want to ask some questions about that, and I believe Dr. Barkey and Director Shade discussed this at length at the meeting. And one of the discussions that I don't want to overlook was these people just put an exorbitant amount of money into their project, and now they have a history of the roots and some other things, but they also have a huge tree in their front aesthetically unpleasing with a large ball that they can't landscape that area. It's unlandscapable because of the root system and the ball. So that was part of the consideration also, I believe. Am I correct?
Sure, and just to defend Mary a little bit, her job is not to look through the lens of what's best for the homeowners. Her job is to look through the lens of what's best for the trees as it relates to the health of the tree and risk of the tree and so forth.
Correct.
So it's not Mary's job description to give us advice as to homeowner requests, landscaping and so forth. It's is the tree healthy or not healthy? What does our policy say about removing trees?
Exactly. Thank you.
Did the two of you actually go to the home site and check
No.
it out?
I did.
You
No,
did?
I've
Okay.
never seen the tree,
I
other
did.
than pictures.
Okay,
I've seen it. It's intrusive.
okay.
Could I add something from my side here too?
Sure. Construction site.
I've grown up in this neighborhood for a long time. I've worked in this neighborhood since I was 15 years old. Not once have you ever seen me here saying that we need to remove a tree. And it's one of those things where we're doing work in the front yard of this property. It's a lot of work. In my eyes, this is one of the first times that I've seen it as bad as I've seen it, to the point where I feel the need to come here on a Tuesday at 8:30. My wife is furious at me for, not furious, but dinner's not being made. And I'm just, it's one of those things where I feel like I need to be here to advocate for this because it is bad. I do have a few photographs if you guys do want to see a little bit of what I'm
Shane,
talking about.
talk about, I don't think I did it justice, but your requirement for warrantying the foundation and how the tree affects that.
That's where I was leading with that, was the state mandates us to have a 10-year structural warranty on any of our construction. Structural, not paint, things like that. But that's something that we're required to abide by. We do abide by it. We don't really get structural phone calls, but we kind of still follow up on the things that we have to. And this is one of the few situations where I think that it actually puts our foundation at risk. Like I said, the size of these roots is immense, and it is 3 feet away from a building that we're doing from where our cutbacks were. We've pruned what we can during trenching and things like that, but short of a chainsaw, it's pretty much impossible. These things are huge.
So, in your opinion, we're going to have more of these anytime a resident builds out, which they do a lot, when potentially when there is a large tree in front, just because of the regulation now that you have to cut out the 3-foot setback.
That's going to...
It's going to change.
That's probably going to
Is that new,
increase.
Shane, that 3-foot cutback?
Yes. It is essentially a grading requirement, which is now required with the geologist and things that we have to deal with now in construction. You can no longer just dig a hole, pour your footings, and build on top of it. You need to remove the entire area where the building is going to lie, 3 feet around it, turn that soil over, clean it, get the rocks out, get the branches out, import dirt. I'm not a fan of it either, but we do it on every project. It's now a requirement.
All right.
I can tell you that I've been by your site months and months ago. I have a daughter, and every now and then we'll have time, we'll take the dogs out, we'll go up Marthaven, because the trees are beautiful, and it's great shade on a hot day. And when we walked by your house, we thought, oh, hate to say it, but I'm just coming out. Here's one of those weird homes where they're putting a swimming pool in the front yard, because the size of that hole was huge.
Yeah.
We were trying, every time we walked by, are they doing a basement? Are they doing a pool? We couldn't tell, because that hole, the hole that you dug to remediate the problem, whether it was, for the client or by law or whatever, it was an immense
Amount of
hole that you guys did, and you took out all those roots.
Yeah, it's called an over-excavation.
Okay.
And that's what...
And even with that amount of effort and that amount of moving earth, you're still not confident that that foundation will be strong in 10 years? Is that what you're saying?
No, it's not necessarily that.
Okay.
It's that movement and things of that size just basically growing their way through the ground would absolutely be a risk for cracking. Yeah, underground like that. I've torn up old foundations multiple times where you see what we call spalling or splitting and splitting the concrete from shifting. When the root's growing in and it's something that dense and it's just displacing earth like that, you're putting pressure against your foundation footings, which granted, they are much bigger today than they were when this neighborhood was originally built.
Right.
But that doesn't necessarily instill confidence in me. Concrete, we reinforce it, there's rebar and everything in between, but concrete moves and concrete does crack. And when you're putting pressure against it, that forces that issue, so to speak. Like I said, I do have some photos to kind of show just.
Start on that and we'll just pass it down, so.
We appreciate you coming down. Yeah, no,
And that's what microwaves are for, right? Yeah.
The size of the roots there, those are.
and this is the foundation? No, this is,
Well, the foundation very well that came back. This is when we were doing plumbing trench, the water main, this is actually what was, you know what I'm saying? But they, that's just, and that's 3 feet. That's not a.
3 from the house or from the garage?
3 feet from the
yes, it's closer.
The new, okay,
Yeah, they built out.
okay. So it's 3 feet from the new construction, okay. How many feet is the construction from the sidewalk? 4 feet? What? 20 feet.
From the sidewalk?
From the sidewalk. So that's what I mean when the roots are 17 feet into the property, and that's where we cut them.
So there's still roots underneath there.
From that 17 feet to the tree, that's still intact. Correct.
Can I ask Mary a question?
Of course. Sorry, Mary.
So Mary, again, I'm not against any resident. I certainly have empathy, sympathy, okay? I'm worried about policy and I don't want a line of people saying, hey, our big sycamore needs to come down because you let, this one go. So I'm trying to, if I'm going to vote to take a 60-year-old tree out, it has to warrant it. So you cut a root like the one he just showed us, and it's 5-6 feet from the new, and they just, how far down did you go to repack?
4 feet.
How? 4 feet. So it's, yeah, they pack it down, but it's not as packed as it probably was before.
It's actually more.
Oh, really?
It's more compact.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
no,
Well,
we're
I
making sure for,
I stand corrected.
yeah, sorry.
What's that root going to do when you cut it off, typically?
So
A big
if,
root like that?
yeah, if it's cut cleanly, it should heal, and
Start growing again?
it could start growing again, but typically, it's branches, just like when you cut off a tree
Yeah.
limb, when you top it, and then instead of one root,
You're gonna have
continuous
multiple.
long root, you'll get multiple sprouts
And
growing.
it's going to go to water source, right?
Well, it's going to find the water source. If their plumbing has been repaired, there shouldn't be that kind of issue. A lot of the tree root issues in Rossmoor are because the plumbing systems are deteriorated under the ground and leaking water, and so the tree roots are headed that way. But I can't say that there's never going to be tree roots headed towards the house because it's a big tree. It likes water. If there's water available, it's going to seek out that water. Yeah. I mean, in nature, sycamore trees grow near rivers, so they like water. They'll withstand less water, but if it's there, the roots will look for
If
it.
we decide to remove the tree, who removes the tree and who pays for it?
That's a good question. We talked about that at the committee meeting. I could add it to a county list, but I tell them usually why, I tell them why the tree is being removed, and so it's up to them whether they want to foot the bill for that tree. And I believe that the FAMs offered, or, they talked about paying for the removal if that wasn't the case, if county wasn't going to remove the tree.
A tree that size, what is the cost to remove it?
Yeah, that's a good question. It depends on the contractor, but I'm going to just say it's going to be around $5,000, $5,000, yeah.
And we have a policy that only certain contractors can prune and/or remove trees? It's a very
So for
small
tree,
list.
yeah, for tree removal, so the only tree removal permit we ever give is for driveway relocations, and that's if
Okay.
someone's
Right.
moving their driveway approach and the tree's right there. In that case, it's up to the property owner to remove the tree. We just give them a permit, then they have to go to county, get a right-of-way permit to do the work, and then it's up to them who they want to use. Legally, they're supposed to use for any kind of work, I think it's above like $500 or $1,000, you're supposed to use a licensed contractor for that. So, but that would be on the property owner to follow that protocol. It wouldn't be up to us to look into, just to making sure that was happening.
Okay.
Or following up on it.
Now, this is for an ADU unit up front, or?
It's really, everything's called an ADU nowadays.
Okay.
It's attached to the house. There's an archway that connects this building. It's not directly accessible via hallways. There's landscape in between. It's really truly a mother-in-law's den scenario.
And it's not a traditional slab foundation?
It is. It's a footing and slab. It's not a mat slab or anything of that
It's
nature.
footings and slab?
Footings and slab, yeah. A spread footing foundation.
I'm sorry.
The foundation's huge, they go way deep, and then it's...
Just on the perimeter.
Yeah, just
The
around the
slab's
edges, and then
5
it's
inches.
not an old, like the old-time slabs where you just run a slab.
It's deep.
It's deep, around the edges.
And you're
it's deep.
still concerned?
I am.
You're still concerned?
Yeah, I am. It's 10 years. I don't know how long it takes for this stuff, but I also don't want to get a call in 11 years saying, hey, my foundation's cracked. Because
You're a
at the end of the day,
businessman. You're a businessman, I get it.
I don't want to,
Yeah, no,
I don't want to, I don't want to build something and have somebody say, wow, my foundation's failing right after the warranty, and if it did, I'd probably be back there anyway, but you understand my point there. It's
This
good
is a hard
it's
one,
good,
guys.
good conscious. Good
I
conscious.
think that,
sleep at night kind of thing for me.
I consider myself, I'm a tree person, big time. So and I think Dr. Barkley and I, we talked about this is a case-by-case scenario. If we're worried about requests coming in from multiple people coming in and saying, oh, well, they got theirs removed, why can't I have mine removed? This is a case-by-case judgment, like what we're going to call on, what we're going to allow.
If you all think this is a close call or a gray area, then in my opinion, we should defer to the homeowner.
Yeah, no, listen, I wanted to vet this like we always do. We have another one too, next, okay? So I know our residents know our trees are very important and we spend a lot of money on our trees. So to Director Shade's, opinion or statement, it is a case by case and we need to do our due diligence. This is fantastic. Got the homeowners here and we got their contractor here. They're adding on, which is different than certainly the next one and is different than a lot of other ones where it's just roots and the setbacks, 50 feet. And, they can see the roots. Although sometimes we remove those as well because when you see the roots all in your front yard. But it is case by case and we need to defend our decision. So it's great when we have a defense where this is the reason why we did it.
Yeah.
So certainly I appreciate you coming, but just to shed light on, I'm sure none of us knew that, the new requirements now. And then, of course, by digging that out, you've exposed really what the problem is instead of just guessing, oh, there's a lot of roots down there. No, there's 15 roots down there. We dug them out. So, right now, I'd go with the recommendation to the committee on this tree for this case, just because of the circumstances. And again, I'm still concerned what this may cause or may not cause, but again, it's case by case, and this case, they made the case that I think it's warranted to remove the tree.
So if appropriate, I'll make a motion to approve this.
Not yet. Director Searles?
I don't have any further questions. I think
Okay.
It's been well discussed.
All right. I do have a comment. This is a hard one because I tend to take the side of the tree before the homeowner. I'm from Claremont, another tree city, even though I've only lived here since 2002. But I do want to, one of the arguments that made, I do want to dispute. Mr. Mendoza, when you say people can't walk across the sidewalk because the tree roots, I don't think that's a viable
No,
argument.
I meant the parkway.
I'm sorry?
If you get out of your car.
Yeah.
And you have to walk across the parkway, not the sidewalk, the grass.
Right.
Where the roots are.
There are so many trees in Rossmoor that have that problem. So I'm just putting on record that argument was made, had no effect on me at all. But I am with this board. This is going to be a hard vote. We will take a nomination, but on that argument, I just want Mr. Mendoza and the 200 people who watch this on YouTube, that there are plenty of trees in Rossmoor that are gorgeous, that are gigantic, and yes, over the 60 years, it's taken away some of the walking access on the parkway. That's not a reason to take out a mature tree. So I just wanted to be on record for that is not a reason why I'm probably going to vote a certain way. So back to you, Director Barkey, you were going to make a motion.
So made.
So what?
I'll second the motion.
Good.
The motion was made to allow these homeowners to remove their tree.
And Joe just,
I'll second that.
she seconded, which is appropriate. I'd like to see it when a committee makes the motion, so we know that they're.
I've got one other quick question.
Go ahead.
So the motion, so the motion is just to remove the tree?
Correct.
To allow the homeowners,
To remove the tree.
To remove the
It'll
tree.
be at their cost.
Okay.
They can wait and see if the county will do it for free,
I doubt it. but-
or
Well,
through appropriate contractors, they will pay to have the tree removed.
Okay. One more question before we go to vote. Mary Kingman. That is, and this is why it's hard, by the way, that's what I call a marquee tree within Rossmoor. That's one of our big skyscrapers. It shades their house, their neighbor's house. It's the kind that we like to walk that street because in the summertime there's shade and we go back from side to side. So I know that Martha Ann very well. What kind of big tree could they participate in replacing that tree? That's big, massive, and doesn't present a problem for 30 years.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to help, guys.
Well, we don't plant the California sycamore as a parkway tree anymore. We do plant the Columbia London plane, which is a hybrid sycamore. That will get big eventually.
Well, everything gets big eventually.
Yeah. Oh, it's pretty fast growing as far as trees are concerned. But I have a list of, I think there's 17, 18 trees that they can choose from, varying growth rates, various eventual sizes. If you want to dictate what tree to plant.
Oh, I don't want to dictate. What's the biggest box they can get?
Oh, the biggest box.
Do we have any
I'm sorry.
premium trees so when they take out one of our landmark trees, our trophies of this community, is there something that's in a bigger box that grows faster that they can participate with?
Yeah, well, I'd have to see what's available from the nurseries, but a 36-inch box would be 3 years more growth than the 24-inch box. So a 48-inch box we're talking about a crane. It's kind of hard to get in those small parkways. So I think a 36-inch box would be appropriate for replacing that tree.
As a family, are you willing to step up and put in a bigger 36 box at your expense?
We'd have to understand, we're not arborists, so we don't know what it is, but we're open to the conversation. Yes.
And then we would our contractors would plant the tree. So they would just have to pay ahead of time for that tree, and then our contractors would plant it, the WCA.
Okay.
Because we do the tree planting, so that would be...
Okay. Was there something going on back there?
No, he was explaining what that all meant.
Yeah,
okay.
I mean, it's just a 3-year older tree in a 36-inch
We're
box.
just trying to we're about to do a vote that's going to be very hard for me.
Yeah.
And at least
And me
knowing
too.
that you're going to participate, as the homeowner and also as a stakeholder in our community, you're reaching out to us. I would hope that you would participate
Yes,
in
sir.
a little bit beefier than here's the standard little, because some of the trees that we plant in our community are so small and so insignificant. And yeah, when you're a grandparent and your grandkids are coming to your house, you're all going to appreciate it. But in the meantime, we're potentially taking out something very special.
Yes, sir. As I mentioned earlier, we're more than happy to be part of that process. We actually would like to be part of that process and
Okay.
selecting the right tree for the neighborhood. Something I didn't mention, but hopefully it's in the records, is that we actually did talk to all of the residents and neighbors around that are in the direct line of the tree, and they're all very supportive of this, knowing that we're not looking to remove the tree, we're looking to replace the tree. And that was really key, and something I want to make sure I'm underscoring here is we don't hate trees, we love trees. That's one of the key reasons why we moved here. And we will be more than happy to work with Ms. Kingman and anyone else who would invite us to be part of that process in selecting the right tree for the neighborhood.
Okay, thank you. All right, a motion is on the board. All those in favor of allowing this tree to be removed in the appropriate manner, say aye.
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 Those opposed? There you have it. Just so you know, that was a hard aye for me.
Yeah. It's hard.
Very hard.
Removing one of those big trees. But thank you for coming out.
Thank you.
I would just like to mention that to that as well. I'm not a fan of it. I have
Yeah.
a lot of people ask me that same problem. This is one where I actually felt like,
Hey, don't be a stranger. Come on out. Like once a year, you should tell us all
No,
about the
no,
new.
if we see
the
him,
new
he's going to
code.
be asking for more trees. so
No,
I
he's
know,
not.
I hope I don't
that's the
see
thing,
for a
is
while.
I'm really not. That's not my angle here. I just, thank you
Thank
guys
you.
for hearing us out.
You bet.
I gotta get home.
Okay. We're now on G4, review and discuss recommendation from the CIP. Oh, no, we're still on trees.
Oh, yeah, we got another one.
I lost my page. Where's the tree page? Okay, we're now on a different citizen's request. I believe it's C2. Someone help me, I'm doing old paper. Yeah, here we go, C2. This is a citizen's request for removal of a tree from Parkway at the address of 3141 Donnie Ann Drive. Mr. Mendoza.
President, Mayor, members of the board, this is another tree request, and as you know, the committee met when they discussed the previous tree, and they looked at all the reasons for the request and removal of this tree, and most of them was nuisances. It was nuisance such as dropping leaves, root ridges in lawns, messy fruit, berries, or flowers. I'd like to point out the turf that they described as artificial turf. So this particular tree, if Mary wants to come up and give more information on it, drops small berries, really small berries, and is a deciduous tree and drops leaves. And so therefore the resident complaint was I'm constantly having to rake or blow my turf off, and it's getting tiresome, and I hate to do it on a daily or every other day basis, so I'm asking for the tree to be removed. After discussion, the resident was informed of the meeting and had the ability to be there. They said they were going to come. Apparently they got hung up somewhere else, couldn't make it. We did send them a letter of denial, letting them know that the committee was making a recommendation to the board to deny the removal of the tree. And they have called back complaining about that, but bottom line is we're recommending tonight to deny the request.
Okay. So the two of you are unanimous denying?
This
The
was,
resident's not here.
this was pretty easy.
Is there, I don't see any reason more to discuss. We got a staff, we got a committee, and we have a no-show of a resident. Is there any, I mean, we could talk about it, but is there a motion?
Move denial.
Second.
Quick discussion. Anybody have anything to say?
I would just recommend on these reports, you put a picture of the tree in for the future. Well, there's not in the, unless I'm not seeing it.
I
We
have
did in
paper.
the
I didn't
initial
see
one,
it
we're
either.
sorry, yeah.
Oh. Okay,
Oh,
all right,
okay.
Okay,
all right.
so
Done.
all in favor of the motion to deny the tree removal on Donnie Am, say aye.
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 Okay. C3, Park Memorial Tree and Bench Donation Program and Policy Recommendation. This is deja vu, isn't it?
We've already discussed this, and we'll make those recommended changes to the first reading.
Okay. C4, collection of tree citation fines, Mr. Mendoza.
C4, this is an FYI to the board. We do have a policy, we're following it. To this date, we've never sent a tree fine, delinquent tree fine to collections. I believe we have 4, and we've given them 2 to 3 notices. We just gave them our last notice. We just want the board to know, and for the residents to know, that there are 4 delinquent tree fines that are going to collections, and we want to just make it public. That's all.
So this is an FYI to the public, per our policy. 4 residents are going to have their fines go to a collection agency.
Yes, sir.
Nothing to vote on, just an FYI?
Yes.
Anyone have any questions of our
We've already discussed.
staff?
Has any of the 4 reached out? Has there been any contact?
There's one that contacted me, and I'm getting back to her tomorrow. She had some reasoning, but she didn't, when the deadline to come in to place your deposit down to have a hearing with our hearing officer, she didn't want to do that. We gave her another notice, their 3rd notice now, and she feels that our policy is not accurate and that she has the right to trim her tree. So I'm reiterating that tomorrow with her, and basically it's going to the collection.
Trim your tree.
Let the policy play out.
Yep.
Okay, C5, review of tree planting policy, enforcement of policy, and vacant site report. Mr. Mendoza.
Mary, you're welcome to help me with this, but this is policy
She's
number
up again.
3080-20, and basically it's a tree policy stating that tree planting and nurturing all parkway trees at private residences shall have at least 1 tree where feasible. So there are a number of trees, Mary can give you the numbers, that do not have a tree in front of their yard. And currently there are 42 parkway sites in which property owners refuse to allow a tree to be planted. Mary, how many sites are vacant? About?
Percentage-wise, it was 0.008%
Of all of our.
of all the parkways.
So it's a very
sites,
small
yeah.
amount. Mary's constantly working on it. You want to tell them what we're doing with it?
Well, just every planting season, I reach back out to see if the home is sold, if they may have changed their mind, try to convince them. If I see them, I'm walking by and they're outside, I'll ask them, hey, you ready for a tree? Actually, that just happened, and she said, okay, send me the list. So it does happen that they do change their minds, come around to having a tree. So I am constantly working on it each planting season, trying to get these vacant sites planted. But there are people that just adamantly refuse for whatever reason. They don't want a tree. We have in the past went ahead and planted trees. The tree mysteriously dies. There's not really much we can do to prove that and charge them for it, except for one that was completely cut down, and we did charge him for it, and he paid. So it's just mainly to let you know that we are working on this and trying to get that number down.
Are there a certain amount of these 42 spots where you physically can't plant a
Yes.
tree because of obstacles?
There are 15
Okay.
that they're covered with materials such as plastic turf, boulders, shrubs. They've done something where there can't be a tree put in there, yeah.
Okay. So what's the plan?
Well, like I said, I just each planting season keep trying, sending out letters, saying we're going to plant the tree. They'll call me and tell me no, or they'll be okay with it. So we just have to keep trying. Or maybe the home has changed hands and the tree can be planted.
In the past, when you just decided to plant one anyway, what's the survival rate of those trees when you decide to do it anyway?
I would say about 50%.
Is that worthwhile then, at 50%?
That we water the tree ourselves and get it going. I plant a species that I know is going to survive more likely without a lot of water and care. And yeah, so we could continue on that trajectory where we just go ahead and plant, but it's going to be, you know, there's going to be some failures there.
Some, I get it, 50%.
Yeah, yeah. And then people get very passionate about it too, so there's that too.
Not having a tree.
There might be some issues with physically the crews they're planting, and there's some, you know, interaction.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it forced, but they are parkway trees. What does the tree committee think about when someone refuses, just putting them up anyway?
Well, the challenge is that Mary has done that and some of those trees fail.
Some, yeah.
Presumably because they were
Sabotaged.
And because there's not a lot of those, what did you say, there's like 12 something that need trees that don't want trees?
Oh, 42.
42.
Yeah.
That Mary's approach to knocking on the doors and reminding them and
Notifying.
when there's a change in ownership or rental or what have you, that's an opportunity to plant and not necessarily have Mary turn into the tree planting police. So we thought her current approach is probably the best one, and not to be much more aggressive.
Just notifying, continual notification.
Anyone on this side have a different opinion?
But I don't feel strong about it.
Yeah. Mary, so I've been on board a long time. This is a constant.
Yeah.
We've kicked it down the road. We're still kicking it down the road. Tarquin, is there county jurisdiction to plant trees? So, you know, if we decide, county decides, whatever, to plant, we decide, we take care of the trees. We want to plant a tree where there's not a tree. Can we plant a tree?
Generally, if it's on district property, then yes.
Okay.
You can plant a tree.
And then if they chop it down, can we fine them for destroying our tree?
Well, if they unlawfully cut down a tree,
Yeah.
then yes, we would have potentially a cause of action against them for recovery of the cost of the tree.
I mean, like Director Shade, we've been talking about this for a long time, and it's usually 0.08. It's amazing. You drive through Rossmoor, and you notice those 41 sites. I do.
Right.
It's like, oh, there's no tree there, you know? So it's, I don't know, I kind of, you know what, it's like, do we plant a few more that are the ones that are iffy and put them in, and put in your weed tree that doesn't require a lot of water, or do we just let it go for another year and we talk about it again next year? I don't know. You know.
This has been a continual issue.
Oh, it's
See, I don't consider it forcing trees because
that's what we do.
it's not, our tree has parkways, we have policy, we have trees. We have a policy that every house is going to have a tree in our community.
So what's the?
So the people that have sabotaged trees, you've kind of noted those 12 people of the 42. I say after a certain amount, and again, this is just my point of view, is you plant the tree. Every property needs a
Well,
tree.
that's-
This is
you know what?
Rossmoor.
If we continue doing the same thing.
Well,
that
that's a
we've
good,
done,
but wait a minute, that's a good point. So
Otherwise, it's appeasement.
if a site doesn't have a tree, I mean, we have records going back, I don't know how long. I've like, what do you think the longest, let's just say sites that don't have concrete over them, okay? Because that's going to require saw cut and all that, but
Non-obstacles and
yeah,
non-no
how
tree
many
covers.
sites have had no tree for over 10 years? Just guess. Are there a few of the 41? 10 years.
I would say about 30 of that, yeah.
I mean, that's
We
kind of
keep
too
doing the
long.
same
It
thing
is.
that-
That's kind of too long
Yeah.
if you put it in that perspective.
Let's enforce the
If we keep
policy, go
rolling the
plant
same
trees.
thing
Yeah,
that we
it-
do in the past, nothing will
And if
change.
a few of them are sabotaged, so be it.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
maybe we just start putting our foot down on, and you start with the ones that are I don't know, 7 years without a tree? Or you're saying there's 30 of them, it's been 10 years without a tree?
Well, I've been here 12, and there's
It's
some
the
that
same
has
list.
been, yeah, it's been roughly the same list. Some have been added, some have been removed, but that's why I'm saying probably 30 that are continuous.
Can you give the tree committee just a quick report in the near future as to the sites that have no tree and have not had trees for,
Yes.
a number of years, that you can put a tree in today, that there's no concrete over it, there's no big rocks or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's just, grass or, I mean, even if it's, I don't want to, I don't know, it's just, we've had this like unwritten, I don't even call it a policy, where we just aren't engaging because it's such a low number, but
Yeah.
to me, it's not correcting itself. I think we've had 40 for a while.
Right,
Right?
it's hovered around, that number, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I don't know,
We're expecting a different result and we don't do anything.
yeah, I mean,
We're going to go look at the policy right now.
So, Mary, I
It
know this
is.
has come up
Needs to be
roughly
updated.
every year.
Point 20.
This has come up roughly every year, and I know sometimes it's a budget issue. Also, it's sometimes an issue where you're busy enough already replanting for those residents that need a tree, and hence you've always said, it's not my priority to get into a conflict with someone who doesn't want
Right.
a tree when I have a line of people already
Yes.
waiting who want a tree. Is that?
Yes, in the
an issue?
past, that was, especially around 5 years ago, we were desperately trying to replace, we lost a lot of trees at once, a lot of the older tree population due to the long drought that we had, and some of the species were just collapsing due to age and disease and drought. So we were really behind on planting for a few years, but we are pretty caught up now, where I was way under budget this year with planting, so we could have planted, way more trees, yeah.
I think that's a critical distinction as well.
Yeah.
no, and that's a very good question, Director Searles. So, because I remember those times where and that was one of our reasons for, you know what, leave them alone, go plant your
Yes.
trees, and we're only going to get to 80%, right? But now you're under budget, right?
Yeah.
We can plant more trees. We got 41 sites that should have trees, and yeah, we're just being complacent and,
Well, we're not following our policy.
What's it say?
I'm looking at our policy is very clear that every home in every parkville will have a tree. Rossmoor will do this, will do this, will do this.
I think it needs to have something in there stating that if the tree is being poisoned or sabotaged in some way, there will be
Yeah.
consequences.
Well, we do have the administrative citation policy, which we can enforce with
Yeah.
that. It's just some of the time, it's hard to prove. I mean,
There is
we
a
could
little
get lab
protection act
testing
here.
done.
There you go.
I'm
Yeah.
saying right now, I think we need to follow our policy. And if there's 42, figure out, excuse the language, low-hanging fruit. Didn't mean for the pun there, but what are the easier ones to go out and plant?
Yeah, just plant
You've
a tree.
just go and plant trees.
Okay.
Do we need to
What do you think, Joe?
vote on this?
The other area that we covered here were those areas that are covered in stone or cement or
Yeah.
we're unable to plant, and that goes to code enforcement.
Yeah, and in the
Yep.
past, I've reached out to county. They've directed me to code enforcement. Code enforcement has not, up until this point, not really wanted to get into forcing residents to change their parkways. So-
Even though parkways in county statute code says you're not supposed to cover, right? Isn't that-
Correct. You're supposed to actually get a permit for any work you do within the parkway. Yeah. Even landscaping, you're supposed to technically get a permit for that, yeah.
So that's where Tarkin and I are going to have to step in.
Yeah. You guys are going to have to contact the county.
I think this is in layers. I'd just like to know, the ones that you could plant today out of the 41, what's that number? okay, where
Yeah.
there's just dirt.
And I
okay?
could get that pretty easily, because
Okay.
I do have a running report of the vacant sites that I have
Yeah.
dates and reasons and so forth.
When's next planning season?
I'm going to start in October, and that'll run through February, March at the latest.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
And Joe, how often does Mary come and report on her department?
Quarterly.
So this is this quarter. When is her next?
I believe it's November is my next one, right?
Okay.
I think.
Well, if here's my suggestion, is come back next meeting in September, if planning season is October, with a plan of the homes that don't have trees and which ones you are going to plant, and come back to a plan in September and get it on the agenda. That gives also time for us to reach those families and let them know.
We're going to plant the trees.
It's on the board. We're going over trees, and your home is one of the ones where the board's going to, take action, but we need your plan.
All right.
Okay?
Sound good? Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
Thank you. That takes, wow, a lot on trees. C, we're now at review of district tree policy regarding tree removal requests. What is C7 compared to the other tree trio?
What?
You missed C6?
I'm on C7.
No,
Did
you're
we-
on
Still need
G4.
6.
Oh.
G6, so.
Yeah.
G-
You missed 6.
Oh, 6, okay, here we go. Okay, so here we go. Private property, material encroachments on Rossmoor Wall along Seal Beach Boulevard. There we go. Mr. Mendoza.
President Maynard, members of the board, you have in front of you, I believe each one of you has a policy manual, I believe.
Yes, sir.
And on policy number 6080 in your manual.
6080?
Uh-huh.
6080?
Is the signature wall preservation protection policy. 6080-42 reads as follows.
Almost. There you go. A few more.
Yeah.
You're getting there.
Hey, we have a definition and scope for this, President Reed.
Look at that, yeah. 60, well, we can,
Thank you.
we're ready now.
6080.42 vegetation. Vegetation shall not be onto the street side of the wall. And that's our signature wall on the boulevard. Heavy growth of vegetation on the residence or homeowner's side of the wall shall not be permitted to bear their weight on or against the wall and shall not be removed or trimmed back at the homeowner's expense. And shall be, not shall not, shall be removed or trimmed back. So basically, since I've been here, we've had the practice of our staff going out on the boulevard and trimming hedges, trimming trees that are hanging over, cutting them back, climbing vines, and it's taken hours of our staff time. And one of the reasons why I'm bringing this to your attention is not only the time it takes, but as you saw tonight, we got a safety commendation from our Joint Powers Insurance Authority. And I'm trying to cut down on the numerous ways we are exposing ourselves to possible injuries or accidents by our staff. So they're out on the boulevard, and when I got here, they were climbing the wall, they were doing all kinds of stuff. We cut that back, we bought a movable, what do you call those things? Scaffolding, scaffolding, and we go along, we cut it, we bag it. So at one point, we were taking the truck out on the boulevard, and one of the side mirrors got hit years ago, and so we stopped that. We leave the truck along the side of the street, on headway to one of the streets, and we bag it, we carry it back to the truck, and it takes at least a couple of days to do a section. So in the policy that we want to enforce, we want to make sure that the board is aware that we have letters that Mary has drafted and addresses of those homeowners along the boulevard that we're going to let them know that if your gardener can't keep up with it, and we have to do it, we're going to charge you, or we're going to hire a contractor, we're going to charge you at that rate.
Right.
And so we're going to put those notices out, and just want to let the board know that's the way we're going to go from here on out. Our staff might do it once in a while, but then we're gonna get reimbursed. The bottom line is we're gonna try to put it back on the homeowner. Please have their gardeners take care of this. We have no idea what's on the other side of that wall. And that wall is a very expensive wall to maintain, and if there's some large trees in the other side that are being not maintained and are encroaching on the foundation of the wall or whatever, we don't know. So bottom line is we're gonna have to enforce them to at least trim to make sure those roots are staying within some type of.
So when are letters going out?
We have it drafted on my desk. We'll probably put it out first of the month,
Okay.
okay? And
So this is
Karen-
an FYI?
Yes.
Okay.
Heads up.
I think you're doing the right thing.
Yep.
No question.
C7, review of district tree policy regarding tree removal requests. Mr. Mendoza.
That was just a review and discussion. It was on the agenda. We already did that. And we're fine with the discussion that the committee had. And I believe it was brought to tonight. It was going to be based on a individual basis, and that any consideration to remove a tree will be looked at on an individual basis. So I believe that was already set tonight.
Okay. Moving forward, I believe that brings us to G4, review and discuss recommendation from the CIP committee. C4 is, yeah, exactly that. Mr. Mendoza.
Okay. This is the, President Maynard, members of the board, this is the last CIP project we have with our Prop 68. It's the shade structure at Rossmoor Park. We have approximately $75,000 left, and I want to go over the calendar with you, and I want to go over the schedule and the budget. We have on page 84 a map, and it depicts where the shade structure will go right off the side of the building adjacent to the snack bar.
Mm-hmm.
You can see that small box there. I took our Director Shade on a ride-along one Saturday, and we went and looked at it, and I believe she thought it was a great site. The Prop 68 budget amount is $75,000. This is on page 85. You can follow me there. Architectural drawings, which I can get underway right away, are $3,000. Shade structure engineering drawings is approximately $10,000. Freight mobilization, demolition, and concrete installation is anywhere from $46,000 to $50,000. And other hard costs that we might entail is a couple of benches and a barbecue, which comes up to the close to the $75,000 we have. So we'll be reimbursed a portion of that by the state. So we're budgeted 75. The state is going to give us, I believe it's 80%. And so I'm just want to give you this so you know the timeline, and the timeline is on page 86. If we start the architecture drawings now, will be done by end of September. Engineering documents and other will be done from October to November. Orange County plan check will be 1 month, November to December. Purchasing of materials from December through February, which we might be able to move up, and then the installation after we finalize that will be done prior to, I hope, March 15th.
Is this a kit, or is this completely custom?
No, this is completely custom. This is a we're going to purchase the material so far through a source well. It's a approved government purchasing, pre-approved bid process that all these cities and all these agencies and this company has already done, so that the prices are set. So they've already went out and preset the prices, so we can easily go through them and purchase it. You know, the installation and the is probably going to have to go out to bid according to talking to Tarpon about that. So we can probably purchase now and get the bid, and, but we have to do those engineering and architectural drawings. Okay? So no, it's not a kit.
Okay, so it's not,
It's,
so it's not modular, but there's specifications
Right.
that have already been predefined for this type of structure.
Yeah.
You get materials from one vendor, you then have freight's either included or in addition, but somehow you have to get it here. And then once it's here, you still have to find a contractor to install.
Yes.
But based on plans, so you need design, you need architecture, you need sourcing of materials that are out there. And it sounds like there's already kind of plans that other agencies have done that we get to tag along with.
Well, no, because each side is different. The price of the equipment is already been predetermined.
When you say equipment, what do you mean?
The poles,
Yeah,
Oh, the materials?
the materials.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
So somebody's already pre-bid that on a larger scale. I mean, they have a whole fleet of trucks. Anything you need, this company called Sourcewell has already done that. And most of the government, a lot of government agencies use that to expedite the bid process.
So during the month of September, you're going to get architectural drawings, and the committee's going to review the drawings and bring them to our next meeting in October to approve, or?
If you would like that, I'm sure, yes. Well, I want to go through committee, yes.
Well, I think the committee needs to be involved and bring something back for the whole board to approve.
Okay.
We don't do major projects like these that often. Let's do it right.
Joe, the reimbursable is when it's completed?
Yes. For instance, we did the carpeting and flooring. The state's really behind. I worked in Prop 68 grant for years, and they actually come out, they fly out from Sacramento, they look at what you've done, like the parking lots. They should have already been out there to look at that. Remember, the first part of Prop 68 was the tennis courts. We resurfaced them in the basketball court. They never looked at them. We sent them pictures, but when COVID hit, I mean, they're so far behind, they have not been out to any sites looking at the product. They're coming out in a couple of weeks to visibly look at what we've done, and then they'll write us a check when they get back.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the process. So,
But it's on completion.
yes, that's why we budgeted
Yeah.
ahead.
So when you say, well, either you said it, purchasing the material, there's no reason to purchase it early or anything like that. It's just that's the
When it's
next thing to
completed,
do.
they'll
Yeah,
come
okay. Unless we think it's going to be a lot.
Okay. Who's on CIP?
Right here.
The two of you? Okay. Well, start feeding the committee with, and get their involvement and have them bring some designs, staff and committee. It looks like October 1st, or October meeting.
schedule.
Okay. Anything else on G4?
No.
Okay, let's move to G5. This is the renewal of the Rossmoor Community Service District Facility User Agreement with Happy Hour Fit Club. Mr. Mendoza?
Excuse me, President Maynard, members of the board. As you know, Happy Hour Fit Club has been part of our program to the residents for a number of years now. In September 22, the district entered into a use agreement with Ms. Carrie DeVannen to operate exercise programs at Rossmoor and Rush Park. Ms. DeVannen is being charged $10 an hour for a section of the park, small section, that she conducts her workouts in. What we're asking tonight is for, excuse me, is for the board to do a one-year extension of the park usage agreement between RCSD and Carrie DeVannen, and from the term of September 13th through 24 to September 12th, 2025. Ms. DeVannen has expressed desire to continue, and as you know, we did up our rate, so the new rate will be $10.50. So with that, I'm recommending that we approve and move forward with the agreement, and we'll make sure it's signed and
Tony and I are on this
And file.
committee, are on this committee, and just like we had to renegotiate with the youth center, and working with LoSal, we did have price increases, and this new agreement basically reflects that they're getting a price increase too. in fairness.
What is that coming from, and what is it going to? It's going to rate of $10.50?
from $10 to $10.50.
So 50 cents an hour.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the same,
Sounds good.
It's the-
2% or.
It's the same percentage
Yeah.
as every
Okay.
other increase we're giving, so.
Sounds good.
So, do you have a motion there, Tony?
Sure, I move to renew the Happy Hour Fit Club contract for another one-year extension.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor of renewing Happy Hour Fit Club agreement with the new rate, say aye.
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 Aye. Aye as well, so. That takes us to G6. This is a renewal of the professional service agreement between Rossmoor Community Service District and Government Financial Services for consulting services related to the effectiveness and efficiency of the district's financial activities. Mr. Mendoza.
After discussion, the committee is recommending that the board consider approving a new contract renewal for government financial services for a term of October 11th, 2024, that's when it's up, so we got a couple months, to October 10th, 2025. The compensation recommendation is $6,180 per month, which equals $74,160 annually. That's a 3% increase. So the fiscal impact would be 3%. So annually, it'll, like I said, it'll come to $74,160. Attached is the new agreement. We have talked to our accounting firm and Mr. Mike Matsumoto. He asked for a 2-year. We moved it down to 1 year, and we'd like the board to consider approving this recommendation.
Did we discuss this in the committee?
Yeah.
I'm having
Or
a second.
you're working on the agreement?
You are?
Yeah.
I believe.
Okay.
For, yes, we have to final.
Yeah, after we get.
Okay, Tony.
So, when did we hire Mike? When did, 2 years ago? When?
September 13th, 2022.
What month in
Under
2022?
background?
September 13th, 2022.
So he onboarded our new system, right?
Yes, we went from, what was that name of the company? We talked about it today, Tyler to, Tyler to Black Mountain, yes.
And so he did that transition. Okay, and again, he does a,
Well, I think what you're recalling is in '72, we had some situations where former county contractors, when his contract was up, we did not renew it. He did bid on it, and I believe his bid was like $3,000 more a month than Mr. Matsumoto bid on. And Mr. Matsumoto had to, in my opinion, clean up a lot of the discrepancies that happened because the contractor became ill, and there was some issues. So bottom line is, he did step up, he cleaned it up, and it was at a lower bid, but the bid,
and so Mike, he, I just want to go over this picture of financial processing picture for the district. So we've hired somebody that helps input records into the system, correct?
yes,
Okay, and he oversees that.
and pumps out our monthly and annual, and helps us with the audit preparation and budget, yes.
have we bid this?
Not since 2022.
And then our auditor does our tax returns, right?
Yes,
And that's around what, 20 grand, 25 grand?
20 grand.
And our auditor's more of a compliance issue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but Mike doesn't do our tax returns, right? He just, he prepares
Prepares
and, I don't know, it just, I don't know, the.
What did you say our last bid was? 2022?
2022. Again, I'm only looking at the cost of running. How many, just, I don't know, estimate, like, how many transactions are we doing a month? I know he does other things, but in terms of accounting, I see this district as like a small business, right? So how many transactions do we have?
How many checks do we write?
Yeah, okay.
On an average, maybe 40. You sign about maybe 20 every 2 weeks at the most.
I'm just, is that, it costs $6,000 a month to manage 40, 50 transactions, a couple accounts, prepare for the auditor. I mean, he does the
And
budget.
prepare for budgets.
Yeah, prepare for budget. 3%, 3% increase, every year. I don't know,
So on page 2, page 102 of the agreement, and this is a preliminary agreement because our attorney's still working on it based on what we decide tonight. 4.1 scope of services kind of lays it all out for you. Mr. Matsumoto is a certified CPA.
Yeah, no, he's well qualified.
And has done a great job. He's very knowledgeable.
Oh, yeah, it's scope of services, yeah. System annual audit. I don't know, I think, not that I want to do on every contract, but it's, so, I don't know, 70 grand's a lot of money to do the books.
I think it is.
That's what,
Yeah.
that's what it's been.
Going in.
Has it?
Yeah,
What was Poon?
look at it this way. It's been $6,000 a month
Poon was,
from,
I believe, 6,000, about.
and it's going up to
60.
$6,180. It's a $180 price increase per month of the services he provides. He was brought in before Joe Shade and I were on this board, so someone saw the value in $70,000 a month compared to having someone on payroll doing that and having payroll burdens.
No, well, we made that decision with Poon,
Yeah.
and then that.
Didn't work out.
It didn't work out.
So now he's been on board through 2 budget processes, having good enough books to where through the audit committee, there hasn't been any breaches.
I will say I'm not overly impressed.
I'm just,
I would say I'm not overly impressed, but I think more to Director DeMarco's probably thoughts are, I think some of this is data entry and some of it's accounting. And I think when we were dealing with this transition to Black Mountain,
Yeah.
it was critical that we had an accountant who could handle the transition of nothing to data entry to accounting. And that was what he came and pitched, and I think he did well. But as far as being able to come and explain beyond maybe the most high-level accounting terms, I don't think he's giving that to us. And if you're paying for him to do data entry, he should know the detail of the data entry. And I think we're kind of in the middle of that where we should be good enough at Black Mountain that we can have data entry, and we should be able to have someone who is really good at the accounting side, and we should consider whether they're 2 different functions.
I'm just, if it's market value for 70 grand and there are districts out there, small cities that's what they pay. Well, again, we couldn't compare to a city, but that's all, that's my question is should we be at what point do we ask for, is this, consistent? Because, again, most of this is data entry.
Is he doing data entry? He's
No,
not
we
doing,
are.
we're
We are.
doing, but then he is, as the CPA,
He's
making
reconciling.
sure that the journal entries are valid, in the right bucket, true cost accounting, not just, hey, I cut a check, here's this, but is it in the right account? Was the journal entry posted correctly?
Correct.
My concern is we might have a lot of change coming on in the years based on our closed session last meeting. And making a change here as well as other potential changes seems not like a good transition. That's my only concern. But we can shop, but in the meantime, this goes into effective, this proposed price increase is effective when, Mr. Mendoza?
October 11th, 2024.
So maybe might there be room to renegotiate, or in terms of, I don't disagree, we need someone very knowledgeable in accounting, putting the numbers in the right places. But he's a one-man show, right?
Yes.
All right, I mean, I hear what you're saying.
I'm
just, listen, I have not, Mike's been fine.
Yeah.
I like him, I'm just looking at 70 grand. That's what I'm looking at.
And your point is valid. Do we
Yeah.
need a CPA or do we need a bookkeeper?
Yeah, I mean.
And that's for the size of our agency, because we do have oversight with an audit committee.
Yeah.
Or not a committee, but an auditing firm to go over the books if we had a bookkeeper. A bookkeeper is a lot less expensive than a CPA. I'm just saying, is now the time. I don't know enough about, what was it, Black Book, Black whatever.
Yeah, but
that
it's
has,
already
I don't
set
even know
up.
anything about
It's,
that.
it's,
so.
let's just say it's like a Quicken on steroids.
Okay.
So it's all set up. So you're inputting, now, it'll generate the budget, because it's all, the budget's set up, and all of our, numbers next to what every line item is all set up. So I'm just, do we need a mic all the time, or do we need, because we're already doing the input ourselves, who does payroll?
ADP.
But who gives them the numbers?
We
Okay.
we approve payroll every 2 weeks. Then
Yeah,
we
so
give
it's
Mike-
very
we
similar
give
to
Mike-
Mike. It's Mike, but,
We
it's,
give Mike the results
Yeah.
of the payroll,
Right.
and he puts it into our system.
I'm just trying to substantiate the six,
I agree.
even if it's 6180 and it used to 6,000, and I don't care, 2 or 3 years ago, we transitioned over the last 3-4 years from in-house to now contract out, and I'm just kind of questioning the really deep dive on, are we getting $6,180 from Mike for doing?
You
what
are
he's
right,
doing?
for the size of this organization.
Yeah, I mean, we
that
have
is
50
overkill.
transactions.
Yeah.
I mean, again, he does more, but,
You could
we used to have a bookkeeper.
get a proposal from a bookkeeper and see if they are capable of handling the work that's currently being done by the CPA.
That's the
Yeah,
solution.
and I don't know, Joe, I'm just,
I could reach out and do, in a quick month, reach out to CSDA and look at some districts that are our size.
at what they're paying. All right,
Yeah.
like,
So we'll hold on this.
Yeah,
if,
I agree.
again,
But Mr. Mendoza, you have to make this a priority.
Yes,
Okay.
I will. And I'll have a conversation with Mr. Martin.
Perfect.
all right, that's, thank you, Joe. All right.
We didn't go down the line on that, I just want to be clear.
What do you mean?
I mean, like, Mr. DeMarco.
Oh,
Like, we
yes.
didn't get input from the directors.
Oh, well,
We
okay.
got Tony's.
I opened it up to Tony because Tony,
Again.
no.
But
Tony was on
nobody
the
else
committee
really
and
gave
forgot
their-
about.
Nobody else
this.
really gave their input, so I just want to point that out.
All right.
We can move on.
G7, renewal of Rossmoor Community Service District Professional Service Agreement for our hearing officer services with Michael Eugene Reneses. Did I say that right?
Yes,
Okay.
Renesses.
Reneses, there we go.
President, Mayor, and members of the board, this is a standard agreement with our hearing officer that we want to extend for a one-year term ending November 9th, 2025. We would like to up the contract, I believe, to $125 an hour and not to exceed $5,000 a year. As you know, when Mary does a citation, the resident has the ability to ask for a hearing, and that's when we call in Mr. Renesses. We've had very minor amounts of hearings this year. Most of the time, the resident just comes in and pays the fine, and they understand that, hey, I trimmed my tree illegally, and so I think we've had maybe two or three this year. But it's always nice to have Mr. Renesses on a retainer to come in and be our hearing officer. So I'd recommend that we approve the fee increase. It is offset by the fine, and it usually takes an hour for him to come in and do the hearing, and then he gives his recommendation or his approval or disapproval, and we move on.
What say you, Director Shade?
I don't know. I guess, I'm going to roll with what we've got. I see the agreement in here. I don't think I know enough about this I don't have the experience on knowing one way or the other on this, so I'd like to hear what the other directors say.
Director Barkey.
We'll go with the general manager's recommendation.
Okay. Director Searles?
It's not a significant change. I would be okay with it.
Tony, you don't get to say okay. Okay. You've overextended yourself. So, all in favor, first of all, is there a motion to renew this at?
So moved.
Is there a second? Thanks.
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay.
Next.
I'm trying to find next. Here we go. Are we on H?
Yeah. General
Okay.
manager?
There we go. General manager items, H. Mr. Mendoza.
You usually have your thing going.
What? I had problems with it in my office, so I'm going through paper.
Yeah.
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 So
Next.
we're on item H, general manager items, Mr. Mendoza.
Thank you. President, Mayor, members of the board, I'll give you a brief overview of my general manager items. One is we already talked about, the Prop 68 state representative will be out this month, and I hope to get payment sometime in September for the carpeting and flooring that you see in the room here. CJPIA rep Lucy did talk to you about Mary going to the Hyatt Regency in Indian Wells on October 10th to possibly receive the capstone award. She's one of the finalists. It's a very prestigious award. It's given to agencies who have went above and beyond in one capacity or the other of minimizing exposure to the district and to the insurance authority. In our case, we put in a award presentation to the CGAPI committee in writing and verbally regarding our tree policy on how we trim trees and off-grid trim, and making sure that, you know, some of our trees that are troublesome because they grow larger and faster are hit every 3 years instead of 4, and that we even are doing off-grid trims for emergencies to make sure that heavy winds, rains, that we're not getting those limbs falling on people, cars, whatever, that are minimizing our exposure. So our record is beyond exemplary. We are, if you recall, we have very few large limbs, or even if they're small, that are creating any type of liability to the agency or the insurance authority. And they're recognizing that. And I'll show you the video that Mary and I put together with them, and all the numbers that she's presented to you over the years and the highlights. And I believe she has a strong possibility of winning that award. Okay. We are aerating the turf right now, fertilizing. Omero's spot doing that. As I believe the board had mentioned a couple of times, hey, please protect our grass. It's that time of year. The season's over for a lot of the programs, and we got a little window here for about a month before they start up strong again. We have one more family festival in September, so therefore Omero's out there right now aerating spots. We're going to fertilize top seed, and you'll see some roped off areas that we're concentrating on. Our contractor did weed kill, for lack of a better word, and fertilize recently, so it's a good time to do all this. So you'll see things come back during the next couple of months. The annual audit is scheduled to take place September 9th through the 10th. I'm meeting with representative from LAGSL to start our MOU, and we're meeting with her this Thursday, and then we'll be bringing it back to the committee, and we'll be bringing it to the board at a future board meeting. I want to give Omero a shout out. We have a adaptive program here at the park that rents our facility and brings in about 15 young adaptive teens and junior college students, and she works with them on a number of areas. One is exercise, socialization, and this girl does a great job. Well, she came to us, this is the 3rd year we've done this, and asked if she can help with the project. So Mero immediately identified 2 or 3 things that she can help out with, and the kids. One is they rake the sand and you know, kind of manicure the playground, but over at Foster Park, there was a couple areas that needed planting. And if you look on the back page of our agenda here, you can see some of the kids and Omero and their staff planting the plants at Foster Park. So it took a couple hours. We bought them some juice and refreshments, and they had a great time.
I'm not familiar with Pragmatics. Can you explain?
No, I can't. That's the name of their program.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I don't know what Pragmatic stands for, but she, like I said, she works with them in a number of areas, whether it's speech therapy, whether it's balance, whether it's socialization, exercise.
Okay.
And she uses they play a lot of games, and they're here probably 4 or 5 hours a day for a couple weeks. So.
Again, this is just for my understanding. So are these kids with special needs?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It's a rental. It's a rental, so she rents the room. I've been talking to her about doing a joint program and a collaboration to open it up to more kids within the Rossmoor area. So she's open to that, but we're talking right now. Okay.
Good.
The investment committee, we haven't met, I think maybe one time since I've been here. There really hasn't been a reason to meet, but I've scheduled a meeting with them on August 27th to look at a possible discussion regarding potential long-term investment options. So I believe
Who's on that committee?
I believe it's Director Searles and
Director Shade?
Shade?
Huh.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're meeting October 27th, 7 p.m.
August 27th.
August, excuse me, August 27th, 7 p.m. Karen and I have talked, and we'll be drafting Karen will be drafting, along with me, a community satisfaction survey. The survey is targeted to be sent out in late November, and the data will be used to prepare for the mid-year budget and make any adjustments regarding CIP or programming. Okay? That concludes my report.
Okay, thank you. Brings us to board member items.
May I ask General Manager a question?
Sure.
And this is going back to the expenditure report. Again, as I said, I didn't think it was I didn't want to pull it.
Sure.
But could you describe who Main Patrol was? I'm assuming Main Patrol was doing security at Rossmoor Park. Was that because of the court resurfacing and to make sure folks weren't using that?
Yes, we had a couple of residents call in, and quite frankly, were very helpful. You know, they saw us out there renovating the courts, and of course, the tennis court and the pickleball courts are secure. We roped off the basketball court with some vinyl fencing, and they said, hey, the kids are knocking it down and they're riding their bikes through them. So we hired a security guard to protect that for a couple of nights.
Perfect. Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Well, since we're on board director items, Director Searles.
I first have to make this announcement. Part of my position outside of the board is I am an attorney. I need to disclose as regularly as possible that I am not your attorney as board members. I'm not the district's attorney. Tarquin's the district's attorney. To the residents, I'm not their attorney as I serve on this board. Just, it's a point of clarification. As an attorney, I don't serve as your attorney or the community's attorney. I do that outside of here, and anything that might be seen as legal advice is not intended to be legal advice as I serve on this board. I wanted to let folks know I'm involved with a development processing review committee which deals with housing and some kind of planning, permitting, and the county has planned ADU that are approved. So if you use the county's already described ADU plans, they're already approved by the county, so it will speed up ADU approval. If someone in the community wants to add an ADU, if they use one of the county's already approved plans, that will speed up the process. I don't know if everyone knows that those ADU plans are available. And other than that, I want to thank Mary for lots of work tonight that she did, and congrats to Mary, Jessica, the staff for, all they did for the CJPI I think it is, award, but also just Saturday's event again was spectacular. Another great community festival, and so thank you all as well. Thank you, Joe.
Director DeMarco.
Director Charles, you're on a committee? Just back up a little bit. So start that again. I'm confused.
So I serve on a development processing review committee within the county of Orange County.
Oh, okay. So it's
planning and
under like Public Works.
It's a county. They actually Public Works would be a partner department of sorts. So this does not. It does more residential permitting situations.
And you're an advisor.
I'm on a committee of 10.
Who do you represent?
Yeah. I am a District 1, Orange County Supervisoral District 1 representative, but now it's 5 because I was appointed with, when we were in Supervisor Foley's district, which then actually went to 2. It's a chaos where there's no one been reappointed to this position, and until someone is appointed, then I either maintain or they could ask me to remove myself.
And again, I'm just curious.
So
this is the first time hearing this, so I'm just curious.
Yeah.
So but this committee is Orange County, right?
Yes.
You recommend things to the Board of Supervisors through possibly District 5, but still, it's,
Are we District 5?
no, we're District 1.
Or District 1.
But you represent District 5.
I actually believe I said it in District 2 now.
Okay.
We're, yeah.
So you're so
That's weird.
so this is, any recommendations that you do, again, I'm just curious,
Yeah.
any recommendations that your committee does, would it potentially affect Rossmoor being a county island?
I would say that, first off, there isn't committee recommendations that deal with the actual development of anything. It's about the processing. It's about how the county functions away from actually individual applications. It's how does the county's survey software work well for residents?
I see. And you
How
advise to make it more efficient? Or
Yes,
make it,
yes. It's to advise the county on operationally efficient
Not
process.
policy.
Not policy,
okay, so
no.
it's not a policy committee or an advisory committee for policy?
Right. It is kind of to say, okay, you know, the county has an objective here, and I sit as I would say, a different member because I'm not in housing development. Many of the committee members are developers, and they see it from a developmental lens. I see
In the
it
private
as
sector? They're developers from the private sector?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, they could be doing nonprofit, they could be doing all kinds of work, but as it is, they're at different levels. Some are as an engineer, some as a marketing. There's a retired firefighter, so he's someone who knows fire authority is an interplayer in the processing.
Does District 1 have the same committee? Or this committee is all?
There are two representatives for each district.
Oh, okay.
And you represent District 5?
As I said, I think I actually represent District 2 as it's
But you came
developed
in
because of
with Supervisor.
Even though you're not a resident of District 2?
Right.
But they haven't reappointed.
Okay.
Yeah.
And who do you report to? I mean, if you were appointed, is there someone that after these meetings you...
The Board of Supervisors ultimately are...
All the Board of Supervisors?
Yes.
Okay.
They would have the, decision-making of any involvement.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Great.
Yeah. Again, it's... Yeah.
And you're not their attorney either?
And I'm not their attorney either.
Okay.
no.
All right.
No.
Okay, next thing. So we had, and Joe, this is you and staff developing this senior program. My hat's off to you. Thank you very much for doing this. I know that a lot of people enjoy it, and I hope we get more and more involvement and more programs. But I just want to read something from Vicky Vu, who it says, thank you to RCSD, especially Joe Mendoza, for supporting the Car Fit event. And that's an event that literally come out and get in your car, and we're going to help you just go over safety, go over changing your the mirrors, and let me see you put your seatbelt on to seniors, right? Which you and I won't, but maybe a little bit older than us, but. My wife went. She said she enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. But anyways, occupational therapy assistant students from American Career College educated drivers on safety features, proper positioning, checking blind spots, and positioning of mirrors, and ensuring all lights were working properly. And it's just amazing we have this, and it was just right here, correct?
It was very well received. I sent our trucks to it with our staff. There's one thing that we fixed right away. Our windshield wiper, our windshield washer wasn't working. So we needed to put a new motor in that. And their point is, hey, you're out there and your windshield's dirty, you hit that
Can't see?
Yeah.
So anyways, I just wanted to share that. Thank you, Joe, staff. The other thing, as mentioned by our youngsters here with the Pledge of Allegiance, Weaver School's already started. School's going to start Monday. And just to remind all of our drivers that speed limit's 25, to stop at our stop signs, especially around the schools. to obey the crossing guards' instructions, not be in a hurry, so none of our youngsters get hurt. So just a reminder of that. And want to thank staff again for another fabulous foodie festival Saturday night. It was, I've been to all of them thus far. It started out on a little lighter side, and I can tell you that Ted Holcomb always gets stressed out that no one's going to come, okay? And he's the one that puts it on. So by about 5:30 it was a little light, but by 6:30 it was full, and the band was incredible. The band was, you could, it wasn't really dance music, although people were dancing, but I mean, and whoever said, either Joe or who said that everyone stayed there till the end? But everyone stayed there till the end. I mean, it was packed and it was dark, by the time everyone left. So another great event, Joe. Fantastic. To Maureen Waters' question, Joe, about street sweeping, you've reached out to, starting early. I mean, she makes a good point. If I've seen them off of either Donnie Ann, off of Wallingsford, waiting. I'm leaving before 8:30 and they're waiting. So I don't know if all of them are starting early, or sometimes they do start it, but they shouldn't start there 8:30, right? I'm glad she comes up and tells us, what they're seeing, and if they're, I know we've gotten complaints that they are kind of driving a little quickly, so perhaps maybe just share our concerns.
We do.
Okay, all right.
We will. We'll go forward.
That's it, thank you.
Director Shade.
I want to thank the Girls Softball League for coming out. Miss Gracie, Ava, and Becca from Oakley and Weaver. They were great. It's always good having the girls come out and being represented. Kudos to our staff for the festival, the last family festival, or one of the last ones. We got one more coming up. They always do an amazing job. It's always a huge hit. I know these festivals are so popular, and I know that the heat was a factor for sure. People tend to wait till the band comes out, till they come out, but it's always a big hit, and they love it. Thank you, Maureen, for coming out and pointing out the issues that we're having with the street sweeping, and starting at 7 a.m. is unacceptable, and the speeding through the streets. I love that she took a video, and she's proactive in making those calls and letting us know, so that's what we really need to see. Including our sheriffs coming out early in the morning and, midday type coverage, so that we have that in Rossmoor, not just in the evening, because we do have our electric bike kids that come through the neighborhoods, and they tend to be racing all over the place, so that helps mitigate that as well. Mary, for our tree service, she was incredible tonight. There was a lot of things to go over with the trees. I want to say that I love that you have those pictures on the tail end of the agenda, Joe. Those are great pictures, great shots of all of them planting and taking part in that. I saw that there was a planting right by the Tree City sign, which I'm proud to say that I was, key in getting those up in recognition of Rossmoor being an official tree city and what that brings to our community. So I'm a huge tree person. I'm glad those folks are able to get their tree removed for the reasons that they did. They had legitimate reasons, and I stand by them. And I just want to point out on that tree situation that Martha Ann has some really beautiful trees on it. There are some I think we need to address, because as going through that tour with Joe, there was a couple of trees that were actually leaning that scared me, quite frankly. I was like, a good wind is going to knock that thing right over onto the tree. I think it's something that we need to, as a tree committee, be more mindful of it, and making sure that we're doing the right things. And I know this is a term that Mary mentioned in our meeting, that the reforest is not really something that is appropriate, but I'm just, lack of another word to use, reforesting and taking out trees that need to be pulled because they're hazardous, or they're leaning, or they're dropping, large branches, or it's a potential issue. Something we should really keep in mind, because a lot of these trees were planted back in the time when they weren't suited for the area that they were planted. So keeping that in mind, and if we do, a tree here and a tree there, it's not like we're going through and we're taking out all of the street. We're just mindful of what we're doing and making sure that we're managing them, and I think it will just help us to keep that from taking them all out, at once, because they are older trees, and we want to make sure that we're replanting and doing things appropriately and managing those tree situations. That being said, I think that we did good with making the decision that we did on that. I'm excited for the CIP committee in getting this whole canopy situation done, because it's been on the game plan for a long time, and I'm so glad and thrilled that we're actually doing it now, and it looks like a beautiful situation that's going to go up there, and I'm really excited to see that get in place finally, and for what we're going to have at Rossmoor Park. I think it's going to be beautiful. And that is it.
Director Barkey.
So I have to disclose that while I am a licensed physician, I am not the healthcare provider for this board. And any healthcare comments is not designed to diagnose or treat any medical condition.
So we don't have a doctor-patient relationship here?
No.
Oh, man.
Yeah, just wanted to.
I was wondering if that
I
was
just
good.
wanted to clarify that.
Thank you, doctor.
Okay. Just teasing. No other comments tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you for everyone who came tonight, especially recognizing our staff and the award they won. Mr. Mendoza, when you see awards like this, it obviously starts at the top and goes down. So you've created a culture of safety. We could tell when you bring things up like your team having to trim off of the wall and park the car and lose, so you are creating a culture that is very encouraging for us. It's fun to get awards. I want to thank Mary for the accolades she's been receiving and the nominations she has. This is a great district and great staff. And as we also know, school is starting, so everyone slow down. Please slow down. And with that, I'm going to hand it off to General Counsel. Do you have any items?
Thank you, President Maynard. No items tonight.
Okay. With that, meeting adjourned.
Thank you.